On the other side, below Yi Xian's apartment complex, Yi Xian and Lu Yu were walking together. However, Lu Yu's expression wasn't very pleasant. Seeing Lu Yu's furrowed brows, Yi Xian sighed and said, Lu Yu, we're the only children generation. We don't have any siblings. I've always treated you like my own little sister. That's why I'm telling you, Zhuahao really isn't suitable for you. Lu Yu frowned and said, Don't say those things. I used to be very close to you, but I never thought you would do something like that. That was date rape. You have no idea what my friend said about me in junior high after that happened. Yi Xian was stunned. No wonder Lu Yu had such deep hostility towards him after he returned. Yi Xian sighed and said, Lu Yu, I'll only explain this once. Whether you believe it or not is up to you. I was framed for what happened back then. I came back to Linhai to clear my name. Lu Yu was taken aback, then simply let out two cold laughs. Clearly, she didn't believe Yi Xian's explanation. In her opinion, if Yi Xian truly had no issues, he wouldn't have disappeared for 9 years. She sighed and said, Zhuahao is very good to me, and that's enough. You don't need to interfere in my affairs with him. My mom was indeed a bit much today, so I came down here alone to thank you. I'll be taking my mom and leaving soon. Yi Xian was about to take out his phone to show Lu Yu the photos, but upon hearing this, he frowned and put his phone away. He knew that showing her the photos now would likely lead to misunderstandings. For example, she might think he was intentionally trying to break them up or that he had been following Zhuahao. The two remained silent for a moment. Lu Yu looked at Yi Xian and said, Anyway, I've said what I needed to say. I'll go back now. Looking at her back, Yi Xian could only nod. Back home, Chao Rong was still talking. Lu Yu tugged at her and said, Mom, stop it. Let's go back. Oomph. Chao Rong finally snorted coldly and stood up with Lu Yu. Chao Yun and Yi Jingyan both looked embarrassed. Chao Yun opened her mouth, but didn't say anything. After the two left, Chao Yun looked at Yi Xian and said, Yi Xian, don't mind what your aunt said. She just has a temper. It was all said in anger. I don't mind, Yi Xian said with a smile. I haven't eaten yet. What's for dinner tonight? Stewed chicken, Chao Yun said with a smile. After dinner, Yi Xian returned to his room. Once in his room, he took out his phone and called Lei Bin. The call quickly connected and Lei Bin asked, What's up? Have you found Yi Heng's address? Yi Xian asked. Yi Heng, well, he's somewhat capable, Lei Bin said. He has 3 residences, a villa in Leishan Garden, a house in Minghua Xiangshan, and another villa in the more suburban Sunshine community. I'll send you the specific addresses on WeChat later. It's hard to say where he's actually staying. He also has mistresses, several in fact, and he's provided them with properties and such, so I haven't pinpointed his current location yet. Yi Xian pondered. After 9 years, Yi Heng's status in the Yi family must have risen. Of course, he was only a branch member and could only earn some money. Climbing to the truly upper echelons of the Yi family would still be difficult. In such a family business, the real shares and such would inevitably be in the hands of the direct line. Yi Xian frowned and said, All right, have someone find out his exact current address as soon as possible. By the way, do you have any properties? Transfer one to me. A larger one, comfortably furnished. No problem, Lei Bin nodded. I'll have someone arrange it for you tomorrow. Right. Yi Xian planned to give his grandmother a house. Housing prices in Linhai were actually quite high, but for Yi Xian, it was nothing. After giving his instructions, Yi Xian sat cross-legged and entered a meditative state. Night fell. Linhai's night was turbulent. In the darkness, countless events were unfolding quietly. Bars remained brightly lit, countless hormone-fueled young people swaying their bodies within. Among the crowd, Wu Yao put away a blood-stained dagger, a slight smile on his lips. Mission accomplished, time to go back to sleep. Saying so, he walked out of the bar. Meanwhile, on the other side, in a relatively suburban area of Linhai, the streetlights were spaced far apart, and the surroundings were somewhat dark. A short-haired girl in black, carrying 2 long swords on her back, stood proudly in the darkness. One of the long swords was already unsheathed, held in her right hand. She stared intently ahead, her eyes filled with coldness and bloodlust. There, about a dozen people dressed similarly to the short-haired girl watched her nervously, their swords held in both hands. Behind them stood a blonde, blue-eyed foreigner. Good, the short-haired girl sneered. You actually dare to point your swords at me. Number 2. At this moment, a taller man walked out, frowning. It was Qin Guosheng. He looked at the short-haired girl and said, "This man isn't from Red Lotus. You know that he's—" "I don't care who he is," Number 2 said coldly, her voice indifferent. "He participated in the siege against us 3 years ago. Whether it's him or his father, I will kill them. I will avenge." Number 7. "Come back to night watch with us first. We can sit down and talk things through," Qin Guosheng said with a frown. "Besides, Yi Xin is back at night watch too." "I don't believe it," Number 2 said coldly. "Either you're hiding the truth about what happened back then, or you're deceiving him, telling him not to return to night watch." After speaking, she held her long sword horizontally and said indifferently, "This man, I will kill him today. You can't stop me." Clang! With that, he drew his long sword and sighed. For all who were still breathing, the dozen people behind him stepped forward simultaneously and said, "Where the blade points, the heart follows. No retreat in battle." With that, they all raised their hands, pointing their swords at the girl in front of them, with a look of determination on their faces. The blonde, blue-eyed foreigner smiled faintly, looking at Number 2 not far away with a mocking expression. Hearing these words, Number 2 sneered. "You've insulted this slogan. I'll say it again. He's in China now. Nothing can happen to him here. I have to protect his safety. Come back to night watch with us, and we can sit down and talk properly." Number 2 snorted coldly, sheathed her long sword, and said indifferently, "I'll give you, my old captain, some face." "You really won't come back?" Qin Guosheng's expression changed slightly as he asked. Number 2 said indifferently, "I won't go back until I've avenged him." After speaking, she suddenly exerted force and disappeared into the night with incredible speed. "Your night watch Number 2 is nothing much," the blonde, blue-eyed young man shrugged indifferently behind him. Qin Guosheng turned his head, gave him a cold look, then snorted and said, "Let's go." The next day, Yi Xin went to Hanyu Group, got the house keys and address from Lei Bin, and then went back to Zhou Qianqian's house. Another day passed. Thursday, Yi Jingyan finally didn't wake Yi Xin up early because today was his grandmother's 80th birthday. He slept peacefully until around 10 o'clock before getting up. After washing up, Yi Jingyan drove the family to the hotel where the banquet was being held. On the way, Yi Jingyan and Xiao Yun were still reminding Yi Xin, "Some people might say some unpleasant things later, don't take it to heart." Yi Xin could imagine it himself. He smiled and shook his head. "I know." The car moved forward, but Xiao Yun was still worried. This was, after all, Yi Xion's grandmother's 80th birthday, and there were bound to be many relatives. In fact, they could feel that ever since Yi Xion's incident, many people's attitudes towards them had changed for the worse. Of course, except when they needed to borrow money. The Yi family had practically cut off contact with them, and while Xiao Yun's side of the family was slightly better, they still harbored some resentment. Because Yi Jingyan was the CEO of Hanyu Group, many relatives wanted to get their children into the company. After Yi Jingyan refused, they became unhappy, and this naturally included Chao Rong and Lu Yu. Although they usually didn't say anything, they definitely held a grudge. Now that Yi Xian was back, his past was bound to be brought up by others. Yi Jingyan and Chao Yun were worried that Yi Xian wouldn't be able to handle it, that his emotions would fluctuate too much, and that he would end up arguing with people. "Whatever they say, just let it go in one ear and out the other," Chao Yun continued to advise. "Mom, don't worry, I'm a grown man," Yi Xian said with a smile. Chao Yun nodded. Then she seemed to remember something and said, "By the way, since you're going, I've asked your uncle to introduce you to a girlfriend. You can see how things go." "That's not a good idea." Yi Xian hadn't told his parents about his marriage. He had chosen to keep everything that happened in Jiangqing a secret. Telling them would probably only make them worry more. "Oh, just meeting her won't hurt," Chao Yun said. "Maybe the girl is nice, and you could be a bit more proactive. She's your aunt's relative. I've met her once, she's quite pretty." Yi Xian felt a headache coming on, but he understood. He was already 27, and in his parents' eyes, with his 9-year prison sentence, finding a girlfriend wouldn't be easy. So, for them, getting a wife and settling down as soon as possible was the priority. Yi Xin thought to himself that he should have Zhou Cece and Jiang Wanwan pretend to be his girlfriends. Otherwise, after getting through this one, there would definitely be another. He rubbed his nose. Around 11 o'clock, they arrived punctually at the hotel entrance. Since it was still early for lunch, there weren't many people there. At the entrance, a banner read, "Congratulations to Ms. Luo Jinyu on her 80th birthday." At the entrance, Yi Xin's uncle, Chao Jin, was standing there. Seeing Yi Xin and his parents arrive, a smile appeared on his face. He came forward, patted Yi Xin's shoulder, and said, "Yi Xin, it's been so many years. You've gotten stronger." "Uncle." Yi Xin smiled. Chao Jin was clearly a man with high emotional intelligence. In front of Yi Xin, he didn't mention anything about the past. He smiled slightly and said, "Come in and see your grandmother. She's been talking about you for a long time." Yi Xin smiled and nodded, entering the hotel with his parents. On the second floor, many people were already seated, including Chao Rong's family. They were sitting at a table, surrounding a white-haired old woman, Yi Xin's grandmother, Luo Jinyu. Lu Yu's family, along with Yi Xin's uncle's 2 children, his cousin Chao Zhuahao, and his cousin Chao Yu were also sitting at the table. In addition, Zhuahao was also present, and they were chatting and laughing. With a smile, Yi Xin walked up to Luo Jinyu, bowed his head, and softly said, "Grandma, I'm back." The table, which had been filled with chatter and laughter, suddenly fell silent. Everyone looked at Yi Xin. Luo Jinyu's wrinkled face froze. Looking at the smiling Yi Xin, her eyes started to turn red. She stood up shakily, took Yi Xin's hand, and said, "Let Grandma have a good look at you." Yi Xin's heart was also touched. He was a sentimental person. Whoever treated him well, he would repay them tenfold. His grandmother had once been incredibly kind to him, and Yi Xin had always remembered it. He smiled and said, "I'm sorry for making you worry." Luo Jinyu's tears flowed freely as she held Yi Xin's hand. "It's good that you're back. It's good that you're back. Now our family is complete." Chao Zhuahao curled his lip and snorted coldly. "Please sit down," Yi Xin quickly said. Luo Jinyu sat down, but she continued to hold Yi Xin's hand, unwilling to let go. Elderly people were like this. Yi Xin had been gone for 9 years, and she seemed afraid that if she let go, he would disappear again. Yi Xin smiled, and then looked at Chao Zhuahao and Chao Yu. Cousin. Chao Yu's expression was strange, and then she said sarcastically, "Yi Xin, it's a good thing your dad is capable and your family is well off, so my dad is still willing to introduce you to a girlfriend. If you came from a poorer family, your life would probably be over. But it's good that you're back. Make sure you behave and don't do anything illegal anymore." Yi Xin's expression flickered slightly, but he didn't argue with her. He sat down next to Luo Jinyu. Gradually, more people started arriving at the hotel. Most of them were relatives. Because they hadn't seen each other for so long, he didn't recognize many of them. However, most of them recognized him. After all, the incident 9 years ago had caused quite a stir. Seeing Yi Xin, they started whispering amongst themselves. Yi Xin could naturally hear these gossiping remarks, but he didn't pay much attention. He just sat at the table, chatting with his grandmother. After a while, Luo Jinyu pointed at Zhuahao and said, "You probably don't know him. This is Lu Yu's boyfriend." Yi Xin and CEO Chun seemed to have some connection, Zhuahao said. "He called CEO Chun and told her not to cooperate with me." "Oh?" Everyone at the table looked at Zhuahao. Lu Yu tugged at Zhuahao's clothes, but he ignored her and said with a smile, "A few days ago, Lu Yu, Aunt Chao, and I went to Yi Xin's house. After learning that I was in business, maybe Yi Xin was jealous and didn't want me to succeed, so he sabotaged a deal I was negotiating with Chun Meixian, CEO of Huan Yu Group." Yi Xin and CEO Chun seemed to have some connection, Zhuahao said. "He called CEO Chun and told her not to cooperate with me." Yi Xin frowned. Beside him, Lu Yu's face didn't look good. Just as she was about to say something, Chao Rong also chimed in sarcastically. This Exen, just out of prison, probably won't earn much money in his life. Seeing that our Lu Yu found such a good boyfriend, he must be jealous. Luo Jinyu was stunned and looked at Yi Xian. Beside her, Chao Zhuahao looked at Yi Xian and said, Yi Xian, that's a bit unkind of you. Zhuahao waved his hand dismissively. It's nothing, just a few billion-dollar deal. I have other projects, finding partners is easy. I just wanted to tell Yi Xian, this really isn't a good way to behave. Is that true? Luo Jinyu frowned and looked at Yi Xian. Yi Xian frowned and looked at Zhuahao. Zhuahao, today is Grandma's 80th birthday. I don't want to argue with you. Don't talk about certain things in front of the elderly. I'm afraid you won't be able to save face. Besides, your lousy company isn't even worth my jealousy. Beside them, Chao Yu sneered and said, What, you can do it, but others can't talk about it? Didn't you shame the family enough 9 years ago? Now Lu, you finally found a rich boyfriend. Maybe our whole family will benefit. What? You can't stand it. A lousy company? If it weren't for your uncle, you wouldn't even have a job. Yi Xian rubbed his nose. This whole family was actually siding with outsiders. This was something Yi Xian hadn't expected. Lu Yu and Zhuahao must have given them quite a few benefits since they started dating. And although he was their cousin, the incident 9 years ago had completely ruined their impression of him. He pursed his lips, looked deeply at Zhuahao and Chao Rong, then took out his phone from his pocket. At this moment, Lu Yu spoke. Zhuahao, Mom, stop talking. Yi Xian was the one who introduced us to Chun Meixian in the first place. Oh? Chao Rong and Zhuahao were both taken aback. They obviously hadn't expected Lu Yu to speak up for Yi Xian. Zhuahao's face darkened as he looked intently at Lu Yu. Lu Yu pursed her lips and said, That day, when Zhuahao and I went to see Chun Meixian, she mentioned it. Maybe Zhuahao was so focused on the deal that he didn't hear. Luo Jinyu abruptly looked at Chao Rong and Zhuahao and said, Yi Xian helped you, and you're still slandering him. That's not right. Zhuahao and Chao Rong's faces were filled with embarrassment. Chao Rong quickly pulled Lu Yu and said, What nonsense are you talking about? One thing doesn't cancel out the other. Lu Yu shook her head. Yi Xian did help us with this matter. We can't falsely accuse him. Her firm words made the atmosphere awkward again. Chao Zhuahao quickly said, all right, as long as it's clear, there's no need to dwell on it. Today is Grandma's 80th birthday. Let's not talk about these unpleasant things. By the way, Grandma, this is the birthday present I prepared for you. Yi Xian felt helpless. Just now, when Zhuahao mentioned the matter, Chao Zhuahao had joined in to mock him. Now that the wind had changed, he was actively trying to change the subject. As expected, the prejudice is still too deep. Yi Xian sighed silently in his heart. He picked up a box from the side, opened it, and said, This is a jade bracelet I bought with a month's salary. Yi Xian glanced at it. The jade bracelet wasn't expensive, probably only a few thousand yuan, but for an ordinary family, it was already considered quite good. Immediately after, Lu Yu also took out her gift and handed it over. The elderly woman's attention was quickly drawn over. The topic was successfully changed. Yi Xian felt somewhat helpless. He originally wanted to take out the photos and completely embarrass Zhuahao, and also use this opportunity to completely separate him and Lu Yu. But now that the topic had been changed, he naturally couldn't continue to dwell on it. Zhuahao's face didn't look too good either. He always felt that the reason Universal Group didn't cooperate with him was because Yi Xian was behind it, and Chun Meixian only met him to deliberately humiliate him. From beginning to end, he felt that there was nothing wrong with his game project. And the reason Yi Xian did this was because when they were at Yi Xian's house, they spoke a bit harshly, which made Yi Xian hold a grudge. So just now, he wanted to completely ruin Yi Xian's image in front of his family. But he never expected that at the critical moment, Lu Yu would actually speak up for Yi Xian. Instead, it made him and Chao Rong look a bit embarrassed. Fortunately, Chao Zhuahao successfully shifted everyone's attention. After seeing everyone give their gifts, Zhuahao also smiled and said, Grandma, this is my gift. Saying that, he opened a long box. Inside the box lay a ginseng root. Chao Yu's eyes lit up slightly. Is this ginseng? This must have cost a lot of money. Zhuahao waved his hand slightly. Not expensive, only 100,000 or so, just to help Grandma nourish her body. Luo Jinyu's wrinkled face was filled with shock. She had a very poor childhood, and even though her living conditions were better now, 100,000 was still an astronomical figure for an elderly person. She quickly waved her hand. This won't do. This won't do. It's too expensive. Zhuahao smiled. Oh, what's expensive? After I marry Lu Yu, we'll all be family. Taking care of you is what I should do. Besides, Uncle Yi also promised me that he would introduce me to the big boss of their company. Compared to that, this ginseng is nothing. Beside him, Yi Jingen's face slightly changed. Similarly, Yi Xian's gaze suddenly turned cold. Yi Jingen definitely hadn't promised Zhuahao anything. The reason Zhuahao said this was to force Yi Jingen to agree to this matter in front of his grandmother. In front of so many people, with Yi Jingen's personality of not wanting to offend relatives, he definitely wouldn't deny it. If Yi Jingen acquiesced and then didn't do it, Zhuahao would have even more to say. This person was too insidious. From the beginning, he used Chao Rong as a pawn, which showed something. Now, in Yi Xian's view, he was even more shameless. Yet, Chao Rong was very satisfied with him. Young and successful. For ordinary people, he could be considered a rich man. Yi Jingen would care about these people's feelings, but Yi Xian didn't think so. Yi Xian calmly said, Zhuahao, don't make things up. My dad never promised to introduce you to anyone. Zhuahao frowned. He grinned, not answering Yi Xian's words, but changing the subject. Yi Xian, today is Grandma's 80th birthday. You haven't seen Grandma for 9 years. You must have prepared a gift, right? Don't change the subject. Yi Xian looked calmly at Zhuahao. My dad didn't promise you anything, and before, he already introduced you to the investment department of Hanyu Group. I also introduced you to Qin Meixian. It's your own project that's not good, and others don't like it, so they don't want to invest. Zhuahao raised an eyebrow, then chuckled. It's okay. It doesn't matter if you don't want to help with this. Today is Grandma's 80th birthday. It's only right for me to give a gift. But you, take out the gift you prepared and let us see. Look, he came empty-handed. What gift did he prepare? Chao Yu said disdainfully from the side. Yi Xian, take out what you prepared and let us see. Chao Rong also said with a smug look. Zhuahao's gift was quite expensive, which made Chao Rong feel proud. She sneered at Yi Xian. Beside them, Yi Jingen and Chao Yun's faces changed slightly, just about to say something when Yi Xian smiled and took out a key from his pocket and placed it in Luo Jinyu's hand. Grandma, this is the gift I'm giving you. A key. Chao Rong chuckled. Are you planning to give your grandma a key to play with? Chao Yu and Chao Zhuahao also laughed. Beside them, Yi Jingen and Chao Yun's faces slightly changed. Just as they were about to say something, Yi Xian smiled and said, I thought about it carefully and didn't know what to give Grandma. Thinking that Grandma is old, she should enjoy life and live in a better house, so I bought a house for Grandma. As his voice fell, everyone instantly fell silent. A house. In Linhai, the value of a house was at least several 100,000. A better one couldn't be bought for less than 1 million. They never expected that Yi Xian would actually give a house as a gift. This instantly stunned Chao Rong, who had been smug just a moment ago. In comparison, Zhuahao's ginseng was completely insignificant. She said sourly, isn't it just using your dad's money to show off? As if you bought it with your own money. Beside her, Yi Jingen also looked at Yi Xian in surprise. He knew clearly that he hadn't given any money to Yi Xian. Yi Xian had just returned to Linhai. Where would he get so much money? Yi Xian glanced at Chao Rong indifferently and said, the address of this house is 69 Penghu South Road. It's already fully decorated and ready to move in. You can move in any day. This time, Yi Jingen was completely shocked. He swallowed hard, staring at Yi Xian in astonishment. Penghu South Road, Yi Xian, the properties in that area are the most expensive in Linhai, by the sea, and it's a villa area. They easily cost over 10 million. Where did you get so much money? Wow! Over 10 million, a seaside villa. This was too frightening. Now, no one doubted that the money came from Yi Jingen anymore. After all, Yi Jingyan himself didn't live in a villa. The corners of Yi Xian's mouth twitched involuntarily. He had asked Lei Bin to transfer a house to him, but he never expected that Lei Bin would actually transfer a villa to him. In fact, when Lei Bin heard Yi Xian's request, he thought that Yi Xian wanted to live there himself. So according to Yi Xian's request for something bigger and more comfortable, he directly transferred a villa to him. And everyone, at this moment, was completely stunned. They looked at Yi Xian in shock. These people were all ordinary people, not rich tycoons. A villa, especially a seaside villa, was something they wouldn't even dare to dream of. Especially Zhua Hao. At this moment, he was looking at Yi Xian with a shocked expression. He knew the value of the properties in that area better than anyone else. 10 million was an underestimate. Even if he sold his company, he might not be able to buy a house there. He gritted his teeth and looked at Yi Xian, then asked with a strange smile, Yi Xian, you were just released from prison. Where did you get so much money to buy a villa there? You didn't do anything illegal, did you? Chao Rong quickly followed up. That's right, Yi Xian, you just got out. As these words fell, everyone looked at Yi Xian, their expressions unnatural. And Yi Jingyan and his wife also had worried expressions. Yi Xian's move was indeed too shocking. Faced with Zhua Hao's repeated provocations, Yi Xian was ready to come clean. He slowly exhaled, smiled at Luo Jinyu, picked up the ginseng box, and threw it into Zhua Hao's arms, saying calmly, And I originally wanted to give you and Lu Yu face, and not make things awkward for you, but you've provoked me again and again. I can't stand it anymore. Humph? What? Are you planning to kill me in front of so many people? Chao Rong stood up and shouted. This attracted the attention of many people. Chao Yun and Yi Jingyan's expressions changed slightly and quickly pulled at Yi Xian. Yi Xian smiled at them and said, Don't worry, Mom and Dad. I haven't done anything illegal. Then he looked at Zhua Hao and said calmly, First, I earned this money legitimately. Saying that, he took out a bank card and placed it on the table, calmly saying, You should recognize this card. The moment they saw this deep blue bank card, everyone who recognized Xinhai Bank's diamond card was shocked. Yi Jingyan, Chao Yun, Zhua Hao Lu Yu. Naturally, Lu Yu couldn't have a Xinhai Bank card, but Zhua Hao did, and he had even shown it off to her and explained Xinhai Bank system, so she recognized it too. Zhua Hao felt a chill in his neck. He finally understood why Yi Xian knew Qin Meixian. At this time, Yi Xian looked at him calmly, then took out his phone and said with a strange smile, Today, I'll let you die knowing the truth. Inside the hotel, Chao Rong's shriek of a question drew everyone's attention to Yi Xian. The azure blue bank card lay on the table. Many who recognized it paled slightly. Those who didn't recognize it were in the majority, but they all understood that this card represented something extraordinary. What is that? Even Zhua Hao and Yi Jingyan's expressions changed so drastically. Someone familiar with Xinhai Bank said, That's a Xinhai Bank diamond card. You know Xinhai Bank, right? The one that caters exclusively to the wealthy. The minimum deposit is 1 million, and that's just for the lowest tier silver card. Then there's gold, platinum. To get a platinum card, you need deposits over 100 million. This diamond card is even more terrifying. They're rarely issued. I heard there's only one in the entire Linhai city. Even those wealthy families don't have one. Simply put, rich people don't necessarily have this diamond card, but those who have it are definitely rich. So, doesn't that mean Yi Xian is worth over 100 million? It seems so. He just gave his grandmother a villa. Wasn't Yi Xian just released? How could he have something like this? A flurry of discussions erupted behind them. Yi Jingyan, Zhua Hao, and others stared at Yi Xian in shock. Yi Xian had explained to his parents that he hadn't been in prison during this time, but he didn't tell them what he'd been doing. So, seeing this diamond card, their throats still felt dry. Zhua Hao's face was full of disbelief. He stared at Yi Xian shocked. You must have stolen it. A rapist like you. How could you possibly have a Xinhai Bank diamond card? How I got it is none of your business, and you're not qualified to know. I just want to tell you that I have clean money to buy this villa. Yi Xian said calmly. You're a sneaky bastard. Let me ask you, your relationship with Lu Yu, was it actually to get close to my dad? Because you knew my dad was the vice president of Hanyu Group, and you wanted to establish a connection with Hanyu Group and get their investment. That's why you pursued Lu Yu, isn't it? Zhua Hao frowned and said, I don't understand what you're talking about. Lu Yu's face changed slightly. Beside her, Chao Rong hurriedly said, Yi Xian, don't spout nonsense. Yi Xian glanced coldly at Chao Rong and said calmly, Annie, I've been giving you face. You've made things up repeatedly, and I didn't want to argue with you. But if you don't want my respect, don't blame me. He took out his phone, flipped to the photo he'd taken, and handed the phone to Lu Yu. Yesterday at noon, I was having lunch with a friend. When I left, I happened to see you walking into that restaurant with a woman, so I took a few pictures. And I clearly heard that woman ask you if Lu Yu knew about your relationship with her. You clearly replied that you would find a way to get Hanyu Group's investment through my dad, and then you would break up with Lu Yu. Yi Xian said calmly. Zhou Hao froze. He saw the photo. Chao Rong's face also changed drastically. Since Zhua Hao and Lu Yu got together, she had been so proud, showing off her good son-in-law everywhere. Now, with Zhua Hao's purpose exposed publicly, she felt she couldn't hold her head up. She glared at Yi Xian and cursed. Yi Xian, don't talk nonsense. This is our family matter. It's none of your damn business. Yi Xian glanced at Chao Rong indifferently, then looked at Zhua Hao, a slight grin on his lips. Zhua Hao, I said I'd make sure you understood everything today. No matter how badly my aunt treats me, they're still my relatives, related to my mom by blood. You shouldn't mess with them, and you shouldn't try to scheme against my dad. When Lu Yu saw the photo, tears streamed down her face, and she slumped onto the table. Yi Xian glanced at her, thinking to himself, a short pain is better than a long one. He continued to look at Zhua Hao. CEO Lei of Hanyu Group and I have a life-and-death friendship. He'll unconditionally agree to anything I ask, including my dad's job at Hanyu Group. In fact, I asked CEO Lei to arrange it. Don't even think about getting a penny of investment from Hanyu Group. On the contrary, his gaze turned icy as he looked at Zhua Hao. Your crappy game company will be bankrupt within 3 days. Zhua Hao's face changed dramatically. He stared at Yi Xian in shock. What are you going to do? He was truly afraid. This game company was his foundation. He didn't doubt the truth of Yi Xian's words. Regardless of whether Yi Xian's relationship with Lei Bin was true or not, just with that Shanghai bank card, crushing his small company would be child's play. Thud. He quickly stood up and knelt on the ground. Yi Xian, I was wrong. I was wrong. I shouldn't have schemed against your family. Please have mercy. Yi Xian's eyes were cold. Slap. Lu Yu, who was slumped on the table, grabbed her bag and threw it at Zhua Hao. Get out! Get out! Zhua Hao looked at Yi Xian with a pleading expression. Yi Xian, I really know I was wrong. This game company is my livelihood. I really can't lose it. I told you to get out. Can't you understand? Yi Xian asked coldly. Chao Zhua Hao and Chao Yu wanted to say something, but at that moment, they couldn't utter a word. They stared at Yi Xian in shock. Like most people, their minds were a mess. They never expected things to turn out this way. They couldn't understand how Yi Xian, who had been in prison for 9 years, could possess these things. How could he be so rich? If you don't leave, I'll throw you out. Yi Xian said calmly. Zhua Hao looked desperate, but he didn't dare defy Yi Xian, so he slunk away. Chao Rong glared at Yi Xian resentfully, seemingly reluctant to see Zhua Hao leave. Indeed, Zhua Hao was her chosen golden son-in-law. Sometimes, people's vision is just that short-sighted. At this time, in comparison, Yi Jingyan, who had seen the world, stepped up. He quickly waved his hand. All right, everyone, please sit down. The food is about to be served. Chao Rong, quickly take Lu Yu somewhere private. You guys go and comfort her, he said to Chao Zhua Hao. The crowd slowly calmed down. Yi Jingyan breathed a sigh of relief. He looked at Yi Xian and said, Yi Xian, it would have been better to discuss this matter privately. Now that you've said it publicly, with your aunt's personality, she'll probably hold a grudge against you forever. Sigh. Luo Jinyu sighed. As long as Lu Yu sees Zhua Hao's true colors, it doesn't matter where it's said. She returned the key to Yi Xian. But Yi Xian, I still can't accept this house. Keep it for yourself. for when you get married. Yi Xian put the key back in her hand. Grandma, don't worry, I have a place to live. You just move in and enjoy your life. Yi Xian. Yi Jingyan pulled Yi Xian aside. Come here, I need to ask you something. Yi Xian comforted Luo Jinyu and followed Yi Jingyan to a secluded spot. He touched his nose and said, Dad, I know what you want to ask. I told you before when I came back, but you probably didn't believe me. I was wrongly imprisoned, but then I was taken away. I haven't been in prison all these years. For certain reasons, I couldn't contact you. All right, then I won't ask anymore. Yi Jingyan exhaled. I called you over mainly to ask you to appease Chao Rong and Lu Yu. Your aunt has that kind of personality. She's not very worldly, so she speaks harshly. But your mom and I don't have many relatives left. You can't offend them too much. You can't leave your parents alone in their old age with no one to talk to. He sighed. This is human relationships. You can't live your whole life carefree and unconstrained. Yi Xian pondered, then exhaled. All right, then I'll go and appease them. Downstairs in the hotel, there were fewer people now. Most had already gone up to the second floor to eat as the dishes were being served. Lu Yu was on the verge of a breakdown, sitting there with tears streaming down her face. Beside her, Chao Rong held her, her expression grim. She gritted her teeth and said, Lu Yu, don't be sad. Why don't you ask Wahao? I think he's a decent person. If he's still willing to break off his relationship with that woman, I think you can still be together. Mom, how can you say that? For a little money, you're pushing me into a pit of fire? Chao Yu quickly said, Don't talk about that, don't talk about that. Today is Grandma's 80th birthday. Don't be sad. This time, it's Yi Xian's fault. This kind of thing should be discussed privately. Why say it in front of so many people? Chao Zhuohao also sneered. Exactly, he thinks he's so great just because he has some money. Who knows how he got his money? Lu Yu gritted her teeth, then raised her head and wiped her tears. It's not his fault. He warned me before that Zhuohao wasn't right for me. Zhuohao only dated me to get close to my uncle. He was lying to me. Don't you understand? Ever since Yi Xian came back, my mom has been too aggressive towards him. I don't blame him. I only blame myself for being blind. At the turn of the stairs, Yi Xian paused, then touched his nose, feeling slightly relieved. Of all his cousins, he had always been closest to Lu Yu. His relationships with Chao Zhuohao and Chao Yu were relatively ordinary. It was enough that Lu Yu understood his actions. Chao Rong sighed and sat down. You work at his company now. Now that Yi Xian has completely offended him, how can you still stay there? I'll just resign, Lu Yu said, pursing her lips. That Yi Xian is a real jinx. He comes back and makes us lose face like this. And now you've lost your job. Chao Rong gritted her teeth. Lu Yu, think carefully. For a family like ours, it's really hard to find someone with Zhuohao's conditions. If he really, knowing it's a pit of fire and still pushing your daughter into it. Aunt, you really value money too much. Yi Xian touched his nose and walked down. He saw by Lianqiang's shadow and Chao Rong. Both were only interested in money. He was clearly doing this for Lu Yu's good, but she felt like she'd lost a golden opportunity and resented him. Fortunately, Lu Yu was fundamentally different from Lin Qingxue. Chao Zhuohao frowned. Yi Xian, you've become so arrogant. You were in jail for a few years, and now you're back with money. And you're starting to point fingers at the family. Exactly. Do you know that Zhuohao promised my brother and me jobs at his company? 12,000 a month. Now, because of you, we're both unemployed. Chao Yu pointed at Yi Xian. Yi Xian looked at Chao Zhuohao and Chao Yu, touched his nose, and said calmly, No wonder you were so eager to please him. It was for this reason. I'll say it clearly, he did all this just to use you. His real goal was to get investment from Hanyu Group. Your 12,000 a month is nothing compared to the hundreds of millions he wants to get. I also said once he gets the money, he will definitely cross the bridge and burn it. Yi Xian said calmly. It's all coming from your mouth. Chao Yu said indifferently. Yi Xian frowned, then walked over to Lu Yu. Lu Yu, don't be sad. Don't go to work for Zhuohao. He dared to use you against my parents. I won't let him get away with it. Don't worry, his company will go bankrupt soon. He'll become a stray dog. Then Yi Xian walked in front of her, exhaled, and like when they were children, ruffled her hair. Then, Go work at Hanyu Group. I'll have General Manager Lei Bin arrange a job for you. Oh? Everyone was stunned. Lu Yu also looked up at Yi Xian. Chao Rong asked in astonishment. Really? Can you really get Lu Yu a job at Hanyu Group? Yi Xian glanced at Chao Rong indifferently. If it weren't for his parents, he would never interact with such relatives for the rest of his life. He ignored her and took out his phone, calling Lei Bin. Then, he put it on speakerphone. Hello, Yi Xian, what's up? Lei Bin asked. My cousin is unemployed. She'll report to your company tomorrow. Arrange a job for her, preferably something easy with a high salary. Yi Xian said into the phone. Lei Bin nodded. Okay, then I'll have her be your dad's assistant. Your dad doesn't do anything anyway. It's easy. As for the annual salary, same as Niu Qian, 1 million after tax. Enough. Hearing this number, Chao Zhuahao and Chao Yu stumbled, both taking a step back. They had just been complaining and blaming Yi Xian for losing their 12,000 a month jobs. And now, Yi Xian, right in front of them, had gotten Lu Yu a job with an annual salary of 1 million. Yi Xian nodded. No problem. Oh, right. Investigate Zhuahao's game company. Find a way to bankrupt him. Okay, Lei Bin said again. After hanging up the phone, Yi Xian ignored everyone else and looked down at Lu Yu. Believe me now? Feeling any better? Lu Yu stared blankly at this scene, then looked up at Yi Xian and asked, You? I clearly didn't give you a good look after I came back. Why are you still so good to me? Yi Xian smiled. At least you thanked me after you found out I introduced Chun Meixian to you. And we grew up together. Some misunderstandings can be cleared up. Lu Yu pursed her lips, then asked again, So, were you really wrongly accused? Yi Xian nodded. Yes, I'll prove it after a while. Okay, if you're feeling better, let's go upstairs. Grandma is waiting for us? Chao Rong stood there, embarrassed. Now, the job Yi Xian had found for her daughter left her at a loss. Just a moment ago, she had been speaking ill of him. Yi Xian ignored them and helped Lu Yu up the stairs. Behind him, Chao Zhuahao and Chao Yu opened their mouths, but said nothing. Yes, Yi Xian had gotten Lu Yu a job right in front of them, but he hadn't even mentioned them. They desperately wanted to ask Yi Xian to introduce them as well, but after what they had just said about him, they didn't have the nerve. For a moment, they were filled with regret. Chao Rong stood there, not knowing what to say. Yi Xian didn't pay her any attention. The matter was resolved relatively satisfactorily. Because Yi Xian had made such a splash earlier, the topic of conversation had shifted from his imprisonment to how he had become so rich. Yi Xian didn't explain anything to them and just sat down at the table. Luo Jinyu was in a very good mood. For the elderly, having the whole family together was enough to make her happy. After the banquet, some played cards, others left, and the number of people in the hotel restaurant gradually dwindled. When there were fewer people, Yi Xian's mother, Chao Yun, looked around and asked, By the way, older brother, didn't you say you would introduce a girlfriend to Yi Xian? Why haven't we seen her all day? An embarrassed look appeared on Chao Jin's face. She heard that Yi Xian had committed rape and didn't want to come. Hearing this, Yi Jingyan and Chao Yun sighed. Although they believed Yi Xian was innocent, it was useless. The label was still attached to him. At this time, Chao Jin looked at Yi Xian again and said with a smile, So, Yi Xian, I heard you found Lu Yu a job at Hanyu Group. Why don't you also talk to General Manager Lei and introduce Zhuahao and Chao Yu as well? You all grew up together, and you're so close. You have to treat everyone equally. Hearing this, Yi Xian's expression shifted slightly as he looked at Chao Zhuahao and Chao Yu. Clearly, seeing Lu Yu land such a good job, they were envious. Because they had previously spoken harshly to Yi Xian, they were a little embarrassed to ask directly, so they told Chao Jin, hoping he would intervene on their behalf. Yi Xian smiled bitterly inwardly. From the time he was wrongly accused and joined the night watchman at 18 until the incident 3 years ago, he had never worried about money. Every successful mission usually earned him company shares, and these shares and income were spread across the globe. Within the night watchman, there were even people specifically managing his finances. Yi Xian himself didn't even know the extent of his wealth. But in the 3 years since his amnesia, He had truly experienced the cruelty of this society. Money talks. Lu Yu was one thing. Considering their past good relationship and her relatively decent attitude towards him afterward, finding her a job was fine. But Chao Zhuahao and Chao Yu, what gave them the right? Their relationship had always been average. And how could they be so two-faced today? Even after Zhuahao was exposed, he was still downstairs bad-mouthing him. Yi Exan wasn't a saint. If not for his parents' feelings, he would have long since told them to stop associating with people like Chao Rong. He sighed and said, "Uncle, it's not that I don't want to help, but although Lei Bin and I have a life-saving friendship, these favors, you use one, you lose one. I just called him to give Lu Yu a job. Calling again now would be inappropriate." Disappointment flashed in the eyes of Chao Zhuahao and Chao Yu. Mixed with this disappointment was a trace of anger. Perhaps in their minds, Yi Exan helping Lu Yu, but not them was a crime. Beside them, Yi Jingyan and Chao Yun exchanged glances, a flicker of worry in their eyes, concerned that Chao Jin might hold a grudge. Chao Jin sighed and said, "Is that so? All right then." They spent the afternoon at the hotel. After dinner and some bustling about, Yi Jingyan said, "Now that we're done, why don't we take Mom to see the house Yi Exan bought for her?" Yi Exan's lips twitched. It would be awkward if he went and realized he didn't recognize the way at all. He coughed and said, "Mom and Dad, you take Grandma and Uncle in them. I have a late-night snack appointment with a friend, so I'll leave first." Yi Jingyan nodded. "Okay, be safe." After saying goodbye, Yi Exan hailed a cab and slipped away. He certainly hadn't made any late-night plans, but he intended to check out one of Yi Heng's residences, hoping for a stroke of luck. If Lei Bin couldn't pinpoint Yi Heng's location, then Yi Exan would have to resort to the night watchman's resources. After Yi Exan left, Yi Jingyan and the large group headed towards the villa's address on Penghu South Road, some driving, others taking taxis. Penghu South Road, number 99. When the dozen or so family members stopped at the gate, they were completely stunned. Looking at the detached villa before them, they could barely breathe. Luo Jinyu tremblingly took out the key, swallowed, and said, "Jingyan, you open it." Yi Jingyan opened the door. As they stepped inside, all the lights automatically turned on. Entering, the first floor was a lavishly decorated, spacious living room. The entire villa's interior design and furnishings were equally luxurious. Lu Yu and the others were also dumbfounded. It was the first time they had ever been inside a villa, let alone such a luxurious one. Yi Jingyan swallowed hard and said in astonishment, "This place, this house, must be worth over 100 million. Hearing such a large sum, Luo Jinyu was shocked. She quickly said, This house is too expensive. I can't accept it. It's too much." After the initial shock, a smile spread across Yi Jingyan's face. "Mom, this is Yi Exan's filial piety towards you. Just live here comfortably. But this place is quite big. You can invite your eldest brother and them to live here too." Luo Jinyu paused, then nodded. "All right, everyone can move in and live together. It'll be lively and nice." Chao Zhuahao and the others beamed with delight. As they toured the house, their faces were filled with nothing but astonishment. Only Chao Yun and Yi Jingyan and his wife occasionally showed a flicker of worry in their eyes. This time, the shock Yi Exan brought them was too great. A diamond card from Xinhai Bank and such an expensive villa. If Yi Exan wasn't in prison these past few years, what was he doing? How did he come to possess so much money? Yi Exan was naturally unaware of the fear his grand gesture had instilled in his parents. He took a taxi to Yi Heng's Leishan Yuan residence, a complex of townhouses. Upon arriving, he listened carefully and found no one inside. Of course, he didn't leave immediately. It was still early, and Yi Heng might not have returned yet. He was about to head to an internet cafe when his phone vibrated. He took it out and saw a message from Zhou Cece. It contained a location and nothing else. Yi Exan's heart tightened. He knew Zhou Cece was probably in trouble. He quickly hailed a taxi. Glancing at the location, his expression shifted slightly. "Go to the Flowing Fire Bar." Zhou Cece had warned him that Zhou Rui might target her or her family. He just hadn't expected it to happen so quickly. Worry flooded him. unsure what Zhou Rui might do. Anger flared, his gaze turning icy. Fortunately, the bar wasn't far. Soon he stopped at the entrance. Several people loitered outside, including Peng Xinkuan, whom Yi Xian had beaten before. His face still bandaged, Peng Xinkuan's expression changed upon seeing Yi Xian. He quickly ordered, "Go get Brother Qi." Someone ran into the bar while Peng Xinkuan and the others blocked the entrance. Yi Xian approached, and Peng Xinkuan sneered. "You have the nerve to come back to our bar?" Yi Xian raised his head. Two cold beams shot from his emotionless eyes towards Peng Xinkuan. He said flatly, "Two things. One, get out of my way. Two, tell me where Zhou Rui took her." Meeting his gaze, Peng Xinkuan instinctively took a step back, cold sweat beading on his forehead. "This isn't your business." A cold snort came from behind Peng Xinkuan. Bai Qi's hulking figure appeared at the entrance. He frowned at Yi Xian. "Last time, I didn't touch you for Bai Yao's sake. Don't push your luck. Zhou Cc is Bai Yao's best friend," Yi Xian said evenly. "I know." Bai Qi frowned. "But she schemed against the Zhou family with someone, and they're dealing with her. So you helped them?" Yi Xian's eyes fixed on him. Bai Qi sneered. "Yi Xian, don't be a fucking idiot. I said this isn't your business. Get lost." Yi Xian exhaled, his gaze slowly sweeping over Bai Qi. "This is my business." Neither of them noticed a handsome young man in a hoodie leaning against a wall nearby, watching the scene unfold with amusement. He lit a cigarette and squinted at the bar entrance. "Bunch of idiots. Mess with me, and I'll show you why flowers are so red." He took a drag and blew the smoke skyward. Ah, the loneliness of a master. This was Wu Yao. Tonight, his target had appeared at the flowing fire bar. As the smoke cleared, he suddenly saw Yi Xian's face. His pupils contracted. "Holy shit, it's him!" He cursed, dropped his cigarette, and pulled out his phone. The call connected quickly. "Master, I found him. It's that kid he's surrounded. Right at the bar entrance." "What?" A gasp came from the other end. "Good. I'm coming right away." At the entrance of the flowing fire bar, Yi Xian's gaze gradually darkened. On the way to Flowing Fire, he had made two calls. One was to Lei Bin, from whom he obtained the contact information for Huang Liang, the highest-ranking official of the New Ocean Bank in Linhai City. The second call was to Huang Liang himself, the general manager of the Linhai City New Ocean Bank. This was a truly high-ranking official within New Ocean Bank. Yi Xian knew this person. He was present when the bank issued Yi Xian his diamond card. Yi Xian had informed him about Zhou Qianqian's situation, and Huang Liang should be on his way. A figure like Huang Liang held an absolutely top-tier position in Linhai. If he intervened, this matter would be easily resolved. Yi Xian had taken this course of action due to the Night Watchman Code, trying his best not to reveal his combat abilities. However, as time passed, he grew increasingly worried about Zhou Qianqian's safety. If something truly happened to her, he would never be able to forgive himself. This was all happening because of him. At this point, the Night Watchman's principle of not exposing their powers in front of too many ordinary people became less important. Bai Qi looked at Yi Xian and said indifferently, "Yi Xian, don't push your luck. I'll give you 10 seconds to get lost." A flicker of coldness flashed through Yi Xian's eyes. At the same time, everyone felt a terrifying aura rising from him, bit by bit. 3 seconds. Tell me where Zhou Qianqian is." Yi Xian stared at Bai Qi, his voice icy. "Who the hell do you think you are?" Bai Qi sneered. Perfect. Today, I'll teach you a lesson and settle the score." Screech! Just then, a black car screeched to a halt at the entrance. The door opened, and a calm voice drifted out. "Bai Qi, daring to touch someone from my New Ocean Bank. It seems your Bai family really doesn't want to stay in Linhai anymore." Bai Qi's expression changed drastically upon hearing this voice. Then, a handsome, middle-aged man in a suit with a stylish goatee stepped out of the car, his gaze slowly sweeping over Bai Qi. Bai Qi's burly frame involuntarily retreated a step, his voice trembling. "Huang. Manager Huang." Indeed, the newcomer was Huang Liang, the head of New Ocean Bank in Linhai. His gaze swept past Bai Qi and finally landed on Yi Xian. Just as he was about to bow, Yi Xin subtly shook his head. Remembering Yi Xian's identity, Huang Liang stopped his bow and looked calmly at Bai Qi, asking, "Where is Zhou Qianqian?" "This." Bai Qi hesitated. Huang Liang nodded. "Fine. Your Bai family will be bankrupt within 10 days. Bai Qi's face paled. He didn't doubt New Ocean Bank's power. The Bai family's business was quite large, which meant they had to secure loans from the bank in advance. If the bank cut off their loans and pursued debt collection, their cash flow would inevitably suffer, and they might even be sued and placed on the list of defaulters. This was simply not something Bai Qi could withstand. The icy aura around Yi Xian gradually dissipated. Bai Qi gritted his teeth. "Follow me." Inside a private room on the second floor of the bar, the soundproofing was excellent. Even with the noise outside, the room remained extremely quiet. Several people were standing in the room. Gu Qianqian sat there, her hair slightly disheveled, fists clenched, and teeth gritted. Besides her, there was another person sitting. This middle-aged man wore a black trench coat, held a pipe, and wore a fisherman's hat pulled low over his eyes. He sat with his legs crossed, watching the scene unfold like it was a play. If one looked closely, a red lotus could be seen tattooed on his wrist. Yes, this was a red lotus top-tier assassin. He hadn't interfered, merely sitting there, slightly tilting his head up. Occasionally, when he looked at Zhou Qianqian, he would lick his lips, a lewd expression on his face. "Will you talk or not?" Zhou Rui stood there, pointing at Zhou Qianqian. "For Bai Yao's sake, I haven't touched you yet, but don't test my patience." Zhou Qianqian raised her head. "I won't. Zhou Rui, you better think this through. I'm an employee of New Ocean Bank. Can your Zhou family withstand the consequences of going against them? Don't you know? Thanks to your masterpiece, our Zhou family has already terminated all cooperation with New Ocean Bank." Zhou Rui sneered. "And even if we do go against them, so what?" The man with the low-brimmed hat stood up, tapped the ashes from his pipe into the ashtray, then slowly walked towards Zhou Qianqian. He patted Zhou Rui and said, "Let me handle this." Zhou Rui politely replied, "Brother Li Zhe, there's no need to trouble you. It's fine. I've taken a liking to this girl." Li Zhe said indifferently, "With women, after they've had their fun, they'll obediently tell you everything." Zhou Rui licked his lips and walked to Zhou Qianqian, grinning. "Brother Zhe is right. Zhou Qianqian, I've had my eye on you for a while, since you won't talk." As he spoke, he slowly raised his hand and placed it on Zhou Qianqian's face. "What are you doing?" Zhou Qianqian recoiled sharply. "What am I doing?" Zhou Rui grinned. "Naturally, I'm going to make sure you have a good time." "Wait a minute," Li Zhe said calmly. Zhou Rui frowned, looking at Li Zhe. Li Zhe flicked his pipe backwards. "Line up." Then he addressed the other men in the room. "Don't worry, brothers. Everyone gets a share today. I'll go first. I'm getting old, so it'll be quick." Behind them, the men standing there looked at Zhou Qianqian's perfect figure, expressions of excitement on their faces. Some even touched their belts. Zhou Rui frowned slightly, seemingly displeased that Li Zhe would be first. He looked coldly at Zhou Qianqian. "Zhou Qianqian, last chance. Will you talk or not?" Zhou Qianqian's tears had already flowed freely upon hearing their conversation, but she still gritted her teeth and said, "Zhou Rui, Bai Yao really misjudged you. You scum, you bastard. I'd rather die than tell you a single word." "Hold her down," Zhou Rui barked. Several men, with lecherous looks in their eyes, moved forward. They figured they could take advantage of her while restraining her. Bang! At that moment, the door burst open, and Huang Liang's slightly enraged voice boomed. "I'd like to see who dares touch someone from my New Ocean Bank today." Everyone turned towards the doorway. Bai Qi led Yi Xian and Huang Liang into the room. The moment Zhou Rui saw Huang Liang, his face changed drastically. He abruptly looked at Bai Qi, who shrugged. "It has nothing to do with me. I don't know how Manager Huang found this place." "Oh my, Manager Huang, Manager Huang," Zhou Rui said with a forced smile. "See you in court," Huang Liang said flatly. "Now look what you're saying," Zhou Rui said. Our family has completely terminated our cooperation with your bank. I invited Zhou Qianqian here for a drink. That's not illegal, is it? Exactly. The others, all Zhou Rui's men, chimed in. Indeed, they no longer cooperated with New Ocean Bank, and with Red Lotus backing them, he felt he had nothing to fear. Of course, he had to give Huang Liang some face. Qianqian, your manager is here. Looks like we can't continue our fun today. Go with him. Zhou Rui shrugged indifferently. As Yi Xian walked towards Zhou Qianqian, Zhou Rui extended an arm, blocking his path. Who the hell are you, dog? Do you think you're qualified to be in this room? Where the hell did this dog come from? You think you can just walk into this private room? Zhou Rui stretched out his hand to block Yi Xian. Yi Xian glanced at him coldly, then walked around Zhou Rui to Zhou Qianqian. He smiled at her, patted her head, and said, "Sorry, I'm late." Wah! The moment she saw Yi Xian, Zhou Qianqian's taut nerves seemed to snap. She threw herself into his arms and wailed, They wanted to gang rape me." Zhou Rui's expression shifted slightly. He frowned and said, "Zhou Qianqian, don't make false accusations. We just invited you for a drink, and you came willingly. You make it sound like we did something wrong to you." The Zhou family raised a fine son. Huang Liang raised his head and looked at Zhou Rui. "Zhou Rui, see you in the headlines tomorrow." Zhou Rui's face suddenly changed. He never expected things to turn out this way. In fact, when he first made his move on Zhou Qianqian, he hadn't anticipated Huang Liang would personally come to her defense. Zhou Qianqian's position at New Sea Bank wasn't that important. He thought that even if something happened, they could discuss it privately and settle it with money. But from the moment Huang Liang appeared, he seemed intent on fighting the Zhou family to the death for Zhou Qianqian. He swallowed hard and subconsciously looked at Li Zhe, seeking his help. But Li Zhe kept his head down the entire time and didn't even speak. "It's over." A surge of unease filled Zhou Rui's heart. The situation had completely exceeded his expectations. This time, he had thoroughly offended New Sea Bank. If word reached his family, they might even strip him of his inheritance rights. Beside him, the moment Yi Xian heard this, a cold light flashed in his eyes. He abruptly stood up and punched Li Rui in the head. Crack! Yi Xian didn't use his full strength, as this was in a public place. However, the force of the punch was definitely not small. Yet, the fist he swung was caught by Li Zhe, the man in the fisherman's hat. Li Zhe then looked up and smiled at Yi Xian. "Young man, you've got some strength." He then looked at Huang Liang and said indifferently, "Huang Liang, that's enough." Huang Liang seemed to recognize Li Zhe. His expression changed slightly, and he said, "Why are you here? The Zhou family has already." "That's right," Li Zhe said calmly. "I'm giving you face. Let this matter end here. Otherwise, I guarantee no one will be able to save that old man of yours at New Sea Bank." As a senior executive at New Sea Bank, Li Zhe knew about the underworld and had deep connections. He naturally knew about Red Lotus. He also knew that Red Lotus had the world's top assassins. They controlled many wealthy families, and their assets were incredibly vast. Huang Liang's face flickered with indecision. He subconsciously looked at Yi Xian and saw that Yi Xian had already retracted his fist and walked to the sofa to pick up Zhou Qianqian. "Fine, I'll give you face. Let this matter end here." Huang Liang sighed and said slowly. He didn't dare gamble. New Sea Bank was mysterious, but compared to an assassin organization like Red Lotus, he couldn't help but be wary. Yi Xian remained silent the whole time. He held Zhou Qianqian and whispered, it's okay. I'll take you out now." This time, neither Zhou Rui nor Bai Qi stopped him. He walked to Huang Liang's side and whispered, "Let's go." Huang Liang took one last look at Zhou Rui, then left the bar with Yi Xian. Zhou Rui's face was a mix of emotions. He was still worried that Huang Liang would completely turn against them. If that happened, Zhou Rui, would have messed things up and caused a big problem for his family, and they would definitely punish him. Seeing his expression, Li Zhe patted his shoulder and said, "Don't worry, kid. I've already spoken. He won't dare do anything to you." A hint of disdain appeared on his lips. Zhou Rui finally breathed a sigh of relief and frowned at Bai Qi. Why did Huang Liang come? He knew about Yi Xian's arrival. Zhou Qianqian had sent a message before he snatched her phone. He even planned to let Yi Xian come deliberately, intending to teach him a lesson. He just didn't expect the person in charge of New Sea Bank in Linhai would also come. Bai Qi's expression was unpleasant. He was still thinking about Huang Liang. Unlike the Zhou family, the Bai family was already facing many crises. If New Sea Bank targeted them because of this, it would undoubtedly make things worse. How would I know? Yi Xian wanted to barge in, and we tried to stop him. Then he came. How dare I offend him? Bai Qi said helplessly. Zhou Rui's face darkened. He waved his hand. Damn it. Forget it, Brother Zhe. Let's go somewhere else. Li Zhe stroked his chin. That woman just got me all riled up. Take me somewhere to let off some steam. Sure, Zhou Rui said with a smile. I'll take you to the most exclusive club in Linhai. At the entrance, Yi Xian carried Zhou Qianqian to Huang Liang's parked car. Huang Liang looked at Zhou Qianqian, then at Yi Xian, and said, the Zhou family and those people are together. There's nothing I can do. Yi Xian touched his nose and said, I understand. Please take Qianqian home. Held in Yi Xian's arms, Zhou Qianqian subconsciously clutched his clothes upon hearing his words. No, you take me home. I'm scared. Her body was trembling slightly. Any girl who experienced what she had just gone through would be in a state of emotional collapse. Yi Xian frowned. He gently pressed his wrist against Zhou Qianqian's neck, and she slowly closed her eyes, falling unconscious. In this situation, a good sleep would help her calm down. Yi Xian opened the car door, placed Zhou Qianqian inside, and said, add me on WeChat. I'll send you her address. Huang Liang frowned. He looked at Yi Xian, then politely asked, what are you planning to do? Yi Xian nodded. All right, then be careful. Huang Liang said, by the way, the old man has been talking about you, saying you haven't contacted him in 3 years. Yi Xian smiled. I'll definitely visit him when I have the chance to go to Yanjing. Okay, I'll take Qianqian home first, Huang Liang said with a smile. They added each other on WeChat, and Huang Liang drove away from the bar with Zhou Qianqian. Yi Xian touched his nose, his eyes glancing sideways towards the entrance of the flowing fire bar. A young man in a hoodie had been following him since he entered the bar. I wonder who sent him. Yi Xian touched his nose, ignoring him. He walked to a dark corner, pulled out a cigarette, lit it, and looked towards the bar entrance. A few minutes later, he saw Zhou Rui and Li Zhe walk out of the bar. Seeing them, a cold glint flashed across Yi Xian's eyes. The two got into a white sports car, and the car started up. At that moment, Yi Xian moved. Like a cheetah, he darted out, his speed far exceeding that of the sports car. Holy shit, he's fast. Nearby, Wu Yao, who had been following Yi Xian, paled slightly. He quickly tried to follow, but found he couldn't keep up. The road was straight, with no intersections. Yi Xian ran all the way to a deserted area. He saw a road sign ahead, pushed off the ground, and leaped onto it. In the distance, the white sports car, with its high beams on, was approaching slowly. Inside the car, Zhou Rui was still bragging to Li Zhe about how great the club was. They didn't notice Yi Xian standing on the road sign ahead, staring down at them. Just as they passed beneath the sign, Yi Xian jumped. Zhou Rui suddenly frowned. Huh? He saw a figure falling down in front of the car. He tried to brake, but it was too late. Bang! Yi Xian landed, his right hand slamming onto the hood of the white sports car. The hood caved in, and the rear of the car lifted violently. The entire car flipped over. Bang! The car crashed heavily into the guardrail by the roadside. This was Guardian Zero, the god of slaughter who once terrified the underworld. The god of war of the Guardians. Yi Xian looked coldly at the wrecked car against the guardrail, his eyes icy, and slowly walked towards it. Inside the car, both Zhou Rui and Li Zhe were bleeding profusely. Zhou Rui couldn't move at all. He was upside down, seeing only a pair of legs walking towards him step by step. Help! He wanted to call for help, but before he could finish the word, Yi Xian kicked him in the forehead, knocking him unconscious. Bang! At that moment, the other car door opened. Li Zhe struggled to crawl out. Yi Xian sneered, walked over to him, and squatted down. Li Zhe looked up, gritting his teeth. It's you. I underestimated you. I didn't expect you to be a hidden master. Yi Xian ignored him, reached out, and took the dagger from Li Zhe's waist. Cold sweat dripped from Li Zhe's forehead. Are you really going to kill me for an ordinary woman? I'm with Red Lotus. Since you have such skills, you must know about the Guardians. Are you sure you want to make an enemy of Red Lotus? Red Lotus? Yi Xian scoffed. Because of a single word from me, that old dog Helan Tian has been hiding around the world for so many years. Does the name Red Lotus even qualify to threaten me? You are. Li Zhe's pupils suddenly constricted. Yi Xian sneered. As you guessed, I am. 0. Yi Xian's voice was as cold as death. The moment Li Zhe heard Yi Xian's confirmation, his entire body tensed up. He hurriedly said, I was wrong. Spare my life. If you spare me, I'll kill Zhou Rui. I'll kill his whole family. It was all Zhou Rui's idea. The Zhou family? Yi Xian glanced indifferently at Zhou Rui. Letting him die like this is too boring. Sometimes, living is more painful than death. I'll play with him slowly. Yi Xian looked at Li Zhe. As for you. As he spoke, his wrist flicked, instantly slitting Li Zhe's throat. Blood gushed out like water. After doing this, Yi Xian took out his phone and called Jichuyu. The call connected quickly, and Jichuyu's voice came through. Hello? What's wrong? Killed someone from Honglian. Tell the Linhai Night Watch to come and deal with it. Yi Xian said calmly. I'll send you the address. He paused, then added, also, help me check on Yi Heng of the Yi family's recent whereabouts. Jichuyu frowned and asked, Your voice doesn't sound right. What happened? Did something happen to you in Linhai? Indeed, because of Zhou Cc, Yi Xian was still filled with anger. It's taken care of. It's fine. I'll send you the address on WeChat. Arrange for someone to come and handle it quickly before anyone discovers it. Yi Xian said calmly. After hanging up, he tossed the dagger beside Li Zhe, then glanced towards the end of the road and vanished into the night. At the end of the road, Wu Yao was running as if his life depended on it. Yi Xian had long since disappeared from his sight. Damn you! How can you run so fast? Are you a rabbit? Wu Yao cursed while trying to keep up. Beep, beep, beep. His phone rang. Number 2's voice came through. Why are you moving so fast? I'm chasing him. He's running so fast. Wu Yao gasped. Just now, there was a loud bang up ahead. I don't know what happened. Go there first. I'll be right there. Number 2 said and hung up. Wu Yao didn't dare to stop, afraid of losing Yi Xian again. He continued running down the road. After a few minutes, his face changed as he saw an overturned car ahead. He stopped, hands on his knees, gasping for air. When his eyes fell on the flowing blood, his pupils constricted. He hurried over and looked at the tire marks on the road and the dented hood of the sports car. His face was filled with shock. He couldn't have forced the car to stop and flipped it over. Could he? Wu Yao gulped. He looked around. There was no sign of Yi Xian. 2 minutes later, a slender figure quickly approached and arrived beside Wu Yao. Unlike the panting Wu Yao, her breathing was even. She had short hair. After arriving, she glanced at the car and saw the handprint on the hood. Her expression shifted slightly. It's definitely him. Where is he? Wu Yao said with a mournful face. I couldn't keep up with him. I lost him. The short-haired girl frowned, but didn't scold Wu Yao. She knew how powerful Yi Xian was. If Yi Xian wanted to shake off Wu Yao, it would be very easy. Do you know why he attacked those two? Number 2 asked again. I overheard something when I was following him earlier. It seemed like those 2 men had tried to do something to a female friend of his. It also had something to do with Xinhai Bank. After he rescued the girl, he came here to intercept them. Wu Yao said. Number 2 pondered, looking at Li Zhe on the ground. She smiled. He actually helped you complete your mission. Let's go. The Night Watch will be here to handle this soon. But we still can't find him. Wu Yao said with a wry smile. When can we go back to the Night Watch? Number 2 smiled, looked at the night sky, and said softly, "It's related to Xinhai Bank. I can find him. I'll go to Xinhai Bank tomorrow." Wu Yao was stunned. Then his face lit up with ecstasy. Yi Xian didn't care about the aftermath, but this night was destined to be sleepless for the Zhou family. Zhou Xian received a call from the hospital. Zhou Rui was critically injured, possibly dead. When they arrived at the hospital, they discovered that Li Zhe, who was with Zhou Rui, was missing. His phone was unreachable, and he didn't reply to WeChat messages. They couldn't contact him at all. Hong Lian was now the Zhou family's lifeline, and they were filled with endless worry. Of course, all of this had nothing to do with Yi Xian. His game with the Zhou family had just begun. He would let Zhou Rui watch, fully conscious, as his family gradually fell apart. According to Lei Bin, the Zhou family had also played a part in what happened back then. Now, in order to find out who was behind the diamond card, the Zhou family had dared to target Zhou Cece. Naturally, Yi Xian saw no need to spare them. Of course, everything he did was unknown to anyone except Huang Liang, and Huang Liang wouldn't mention it to anyone else. Yi Xian was still the same Yi Xian. In the eyes of most people, he was still the one convicted of rape. To his parents and relatives, he was now rich. As for how he got his money, no one knew. Yi Xian took another taxi to Zhou Cece's house. After confirming that she was asleep, he took a taxi back to his own home. It was already past 11 when he arrived. His parents were still awake. Seeing him return, they quickly stood up, their faces full of worry. Yi Xian asked in surprise, "Mom and Dad, why aren't you asleep yet?" Yi Jing'an said, "Yi Xian, we want to see that villa today. It's so big. I thought it was just worth tens of millions, but that villa must be worth at least hundreds of millions, not counting the interior decorations, wine, and everything." Chao Yin quickly added, "Yes, Yi Xian, where did you get so much money?" Yi Xian was taken aback and cursed Lei Bin inwardly. He coughed and said, "All right, Mom and Dad, I'll come clean. Actually, that villa was a gift from CEO Lei Bin. Didn't I say? I wasn't in prison all these years. I know CEO Lei because I saved his life once. He gave me the villa, and since I don't live there usually, I gave it to Grandma." Yi Jing'an paused. If it was a gift from Lei Bin, it made sense. Seeing their disbelief, Yi Xian said, "Look, Dad, if you don't believe me, you can call CEO Lei now, or ask him at work tomorrow." "All right, I still believe you," Yi Jing'an said. "Then you should rest early. You still have work tomorrow." Yi Xian felt a headache coming on. He decided that moving out to live on his own was inevitable. He washed up and returned to his room. Just as he lay down, his phone buzzed. He picked it up and saw a message from Qin Shi. "Are you there?" Yi Xian quickly replied, "Yes, what's up? Are you free tomorrow? You promised to model for me before. If you're free tomorrow, I'd like to invite you over." Qin Shi's message included 2 shy emojis. "Sure," Yi Xian agreed. "Just send me the address tomorrow." "Okay, then 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. See you then." Qin Shi sent another message with an emoji. Then she sent the address. After reading it, Yi Xian put down his phone and sat cross-legged. At the same time, in the Bai family home, Bai Yao was sitting in her bedroom. Her bedroom was large, and she was sitting at her desk, wearing glasses, holding a book, reading every word carefully. Bai Yao was a very cultured girl. She enjoyed things like tea ceremonies, literature, and the like. Knock, knock, knock. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. She frowned, placed the book face down on the table, and walked to the door, opening it. Seeing Bai Qi at the door, she frowned and asked, "What's wrong? From today onwards, don't meet with Yi Xian again." Bai Qi frowned at Bai Yao. "Why?" Bai Yao frowned. "Something happened to Zhou Rui. He's in the hospital now, between life and death." Bai Qi said with a dark expression. Bai Yao's expression shifted slightly. "What does Zhou Rui's accident have to do with Yi Xian?" Today at the bar, Zhou Rui tried to do something to Zhou Cece. Yi Xian and Huang Liang went to rescue her. Bai Qi snorted, and Yi Xian and Zhou Rui had an argument. Then Zhou Rui had a car accident. It must have been Yi Xian's doing. He's dangerous. Don't see him again. Halfway through his words, he noticed Bai Yao's expression darken, her gaze turning icy. She asked calmly, "Brother, are you saying that Zhou Rue tried to do something to Zhou Cc at your flowing fire bar? You helped Zhou Rue, didn't you?" Ah, Bai Chi's expression changed slightly. "Zhou Cc is my best friend, my closest friend." Bai Yao looked at Bai Chi and said softly, "Brother, I'm so disappointed in you." With that, she grabbed her car keys from the table, pushed past Bai Chi, and drove away. She quickly arrived at Zhou Qianqian's home and then dialed Jiang Wanwan's number. After the door opened, she rushed in and asked, "Is Qianqian okay?" Jiang Wanwan and Qin Xiaowei both looked at her blankly. In fact, neither of them knew exactly what had happened. They only knew that Zhou Qianqian had been brought back by Huang Liang, who had only told them that he was Zhou Qianqian's boss. He hadn't said anything about what had happened to her. Is Sister Qianqian asleep? With that expression, did something happen? Jiang Wanwan asked suspiciously. Bai Yao pursed her lips, looked at Jiang Wanwan and Qin Xiaowei, sighed, and said, "To make Zhou Rue cancel our engagement, Yi Xian used the authority of his diamond card to have Xinhai Bank sanction the Zhou family. Qianqian was in charge of this. Then Zhou Rue wanted to find out who owned the diamond card, and he attacked Qianqian. Today, Qianqian was kidnapped by them to the Liuhua bar." Hearing this, both Jiang Wanwan and Qin Xiaowei's pupils slightly constricted. Anger flashed across Qin Xiaowei's face as she said, "That Zhou Rue is too much." Jiang Wanwan looked at Bai Yao and said, "Senior Bai Yao, I always thought this was your private matter, so I never said anything. But this Zhou Rue has a huge problem with his character. You really can't marry him. Although the engagement banquet has been postponed, you haven't said you'll cancel the engagement. Think about it carefully. Your Bai family isn't short of money. If there's a problem with the business, you can just consolidate your funds and find other people to cooperate with. Why sacrifice your happiness?" Bai Yao lowered her head and said, "Don't worry. I don't know when the engagement banquet will be now. My brother just told me that Zhou Rue was in a car accident and went to the hospital. He almost died. Serves him right." Qin Xiaowei gritted her teeth. "That scum deserves to die." Bai Yao frowned and said, "My brother said it might have been Yi Xian who did it." After she finished speaking, a hint of worry appeared on her face, as if she was worried that Yi Xian would be imprisoned again. While the three girls were talking, on the other side, Yi Xian was sitting cross-legged in his room. It was already past midnight. At the same time, in another location, at the night watchman's temporary base, Qin Guosheng was swiping his phone. He glanced at it a few times, licked his lips, and said, "Damn." He flipped a moving car with a single slap. It's a good thing he's not coming back to the night watchman. Otherwise, with Lu Yang's personality, who knows what kind of fight they would have. Beside Qin Guosheng, Qi Huayu stood there, frowning. "Boss, what about number 2? There seems to be a problem internally regarding how to deal with number 2. Dr. just seems to have clashed with those old folks. The Federation sent us another message, telling us to secretly arrest him, and if number 2 resists, kill without mercy." Qin Guosheng frowned and asked, "What's the old man's attitude?" "The old man hasn't expressed an opinion. He can't express an opinion." Qi Huayu sighed. "This is really tricky. We all know in our hearts that that old dog, Dempsey Gale, was definitely involved in what happened 3 years ago. It was because he betrayed the intel that number 7 died directly, but we have no evidence." Qin Guosheng cursed. "This is really difficult. That dog Dempsey is a first-generation Starlight Cross medal recipient. He has huge influence. Number 2 shouldn't have chopped off Dempsey's grandson a few days ago." Qi Huayu sighed. "Hey, they probably don't want Yi Xian back in the night watchman for this reason. If Yi Xian knew the truth, he'd probably rush over there with a knife. Then the conflict would be huge. Forget it, let's just pretend. If they ask, we'll just say we couldn't beat number 2. Qin Guosheng rubbed his head. "What about Yi Xian's ex-wife and mother-in-law? They refuse to leave," Qi Huayu said helplessly. "Those 3 are really a headache. After staying here for a while and hearing our people talk, they learned that Yi Xian is very rich and powerful. And now, they say, they want to wait for Yi Xian to come back." "Wait for him to come back? And do what?" Qin Guoxing cursed. That Lin Xingxue said she wants to remarry Yi Xian, saying things like Yi Xian still loves her. I was sweating just listening to it. Qi Huayu rolled his eyes. Holy crap, that mother and daughter are really shameless. Qin Guoxing cursed. There's nothing we can do. If they want to stay, let them stay. This is Yi Xian's own mess. Let him deal with it when he comes back. Qi Huayu chuckled. You know, I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what Yi Xian will do. It's definitely going to be a good show. Qin Guoxing's eyes lit up slightly, and then a lewd smile appeared on his face. The two reached a consensus and high-fived. The night passed uneventfully. The next day, Yi Xian was woken up by Yi Jingyan as usual. The two went to the company. Yi Xian, still using the excuse of buying breakfast for Lei Bin, slipped away at the company entrance. But this time, he didn't go directly to Zhou Qianqian's home. Instead, he took a taxi to the address she had sent him. Soon, Yi Xian stopped in front of an office building. Four large characters were written on the top of the building. Huanyu Group. This place should be Huanyu Group's headquarters. When he arrived at the entrance, Yi Xian saw Chun Shi with her drawing board from afar. Beside her, there was a man and a woman. Both of them also had drawing boards on their backs, presumably her classmates. Yi Xian naturally wasn't interested in the man. His gaze mainly fell on the girl. The girl looked about the same age as Chun Shi, with long black hair draped over her back. She was about 167 meters tall and extremely beautiful, not inferior to Chun Shi, but she seemed much more lively. Seeing Yi Xian, Chun Shi waved at him. Yi Xian approached and looked at the office building. Didn't you say you were going to paint? What are you doing at your mom's company? My mom set up a private studio for me in their company, so I'm usually here on weekends. Chun Shi smiled sweetly, then said, Let me introduce you. This is my best friend, Wang Jieqi, a rich girl from Yanjing. Yi Xian looked at her, his expression shifting slightly. TSK, I've been hearing Chun Shi talk about you recently, saying how good your figure is and all that. Now that I see you, it really is good. Wang Jieqi said to Yi Xian with a smile. Yi Xian touched his nose. At the same time, the man beside him slowly said, It really is you. I thought it was just a coincidence that we had the same name. Yi Xian frowned and finally looked at the man. When he saw this person, his brow furrowed slightly. To describe him in one phrase, flamboyant, his clothes were all trendy brands, brightly colored. For some reason, his head was also dyed green, which was extremely eye-catching. He had things hanging from his ears and his nose. In short, very artistic. Seeing Yi Xian's gaze, Chun Shi quickly said, Yi Xian, let me introduce you. This is also my classmate, Yi Ziyu. Yi Xian's heart stirred slightly. He remembered this name, the third in line to inherit the Yi family, Yi Zikin's younger brother. However, Yi Xian couldn't quite remember his appearance. When he was taken away, Yi Zikin was only 11 or 12 years old. Naturally, he had changed drastically now. Seeing someone from the Yi family, Yi Xian's eyes narrowed involuntarily. Yi Ziyu looked at Yi Xian, a hint of disdain in his eyes. Chun Shi, you probably don't know much about this Yi Xian. He's the one who drugged and raped Bai Xian from the Bai family 9 years ago and spent 9 years in prison. Recently, Yi Huan said at home that he was released and back in Linhai. A lot of people in our Yi family have been talking about it. Chun Shi frowned. Yi Xian is my friend. Hearing Chun Shi's words, Yi Ziyu was stunned at first, then looked at Yi Xian with a hint of jealousy in his eyes. Yi Xian clearly caught the jealousy in his eyes, and his heart stirred slightly. It seemed that this Yi Ziyu liked Chun Shi, so he showed great hostility towards his arrival. However, he didn't bother to pay attention to this kid. He harbored resentment towards the Yi family, but it wasn't directed at everyone. He simply wanted to prove his innocence. Those who framed him wouldn't get away with it. As for the rest, he wasn't interested. Of course, this was on the premise that others didn't provoke him. Yi Xian ignored Yi Ziyu, but Yi Ziyu didn't seem to want to let him off the hook. He sneered at Yi Xian and said, Yi Xian, you were once highly regarded in the Yi family. Although you couldn't compare to a direct heir like me, you were among the most promising of the younger generation in the collateral branch. Back then, at the annual family dinner, you were always arranged to sit next to my older brother. The family clearly wanted to groom you as his right-hand man. It's a pity, one wrong step, and now you've been reduced to working as an art model. Well, it's understandable. It's hard to find a job after being in prison for so many years. Yi Xian's eyebrows twitched slightly. Chun-Shi opened her mouth, wanting to say something, but seemed afraid of offending Yi Ziyu. Wang Jiechi, however, spoke up. Yi Ziyu, don't be so mean. Yi Xian is here as a free model for Chun-Shi. Don't go too far. Chun-Shi only invited me today. You overheard and shamelessly tag along. If you keep talking nonsense, you can just leave, okay? Yi Xian glanced at Wang Jiechi in surprise. This girl was something. In Linhai, there weren't many people who dared to speak to the Yi family like that. Yi Ziyu's expression shifted, but he didn't dare to say anything more. Chun-Shi pulled Yi Xian's arm and said, Yi Xian, don't mind him. Let's go to the studio. Yi Xian shrugged and said, it's fine. Seeing Chun-Shi taking the initiative to hold Yi Xian's arm, Yi Ziyu's eyes nearly spat fire. He glared at Yi Xian hatefully and followed them into the office building. At the same time, his eyes darted around as he gritted his teeth and muttered, I'll make you lose face so badly later. The four of them walked to the studio together. It had to be said, rich people were truly on another level. Chun-Shi was still in university, yet she had an entire floor of an office building as her studio, filled with all kinds of art supplies. Once there, Chun-Shi said, it will probably take about 2 hours. It might be a little tiring, so please bear with it. I'll treat you to a big meal after we're done. Yi Xian smiled and said, no problem. Chun-Shi led Yi Xian to a chair, then blushed slightly and said, so, can you take your clothes off? Yi Xian was taken aback. We're mainly sketching muscle lines, Chun-Shi quickly explained. Yi Xian scratched his head. This? We're not shy. Why are you? Yi Ziyu didn't speak, but his expression was extremely ugly. He had known Chun-Shi for a long time, but she had never spoken to him in this tone. Most of the time, she seemed cold and perfunctory towards him, let alone show such a blushing, shy expression. He was furious. Meanwhile, Yi Xian coughed and said, it doesn't really matter. I'm just afraid you'll fall in love with me after I take them off. Wang Jiechi scoffed. Please, just leave your underwear on. We'll go prepare the art supplies first. You can undress first, and I'll come back and pose you. Yi Xian found her words somewhat suggestive. He coughed again. Chun-Shi, blushing, pulled Wang Jiechi out. Yi Ziyu remained, taking down his drawing board and setting it up. He stood up, walked over to Yi Xian and said, Yi Xian, stay away from Chun-Shi. Chun-Shi can only be my girlfriend, and in the future, only my wife. Oh, Yi Xian said, touching his nose. Yi Huan said the same thing the last time I saw him. Yi Ziyu's expression changed slightly. Then he sneered. That's competition between him and me. It has nothing to do with you. In any case, stay away from Chun-Shi. Why? Because this is Linhai, and I'm the third in line to inherit the Yi family. I could crush you like an ant. Then crush me. You. After a moment, he spoke again. You've just been released from prison, right? No job. I'll give you some money and a job. Just stay away from her. How about that? A student like you? Very rich. My annual allowance is over $1 million, a figure you can't even imagine. I can easily find you a job with a monthly salary of over 10,000, enough to live comfortably in Linhai. Name your price. Sorry, not interested. My dad's the vice president of Hanyu Group, making millions a year. Living off him is enough for me. You. Seeing Yi Xian's unyielding attitude, he sneered. Don't say I didn't give you a chance. So, what are you going to do? Glare me to death? Or bore me to death with your words? Honestly, I admire your thick skin. Chun-Shi clearly doesn't like you, doesn't even want to deal with you. If it weren't for your status as a direct descendant of the Yi family, she would have told you to get lost long ago. And yet, you still shamelessly try to force yourself on her. Yi Xian's words were like stabbing him repeatedly. Yi Ziyu's face burned with anger, but he couldn't lash out here. He could only stare at Yi Xian, gritting his teeth. Yi Xian shrugged indifferently, took off his clothes, revealing a well-built physique, then took off his trousers, leaving only his underwear on, and sat down on the chair nonchalantly. Fine, very good. Yi Xian, just you wait. I'll let you know the consequences of provoking me in Linhai. Yi Xian shrugged indifferently. As they talked, Chen Shi and Wang Jiqi walked in with their drawing materials. Seeing Yi Xian sitting there, Chen Shi's face flushed crimson. Wang Jiqi, however, did in admiration. Not a bad physique. Blushing, Chen Shi walked over to Yi Xian and said, "Sit down first, I'll pose you." Then she started instructing him on how to pose. Yi Xian could feel her breathing becoming heavier, could even hear her heart beating rapidly. Still a young girl after all, Yi Xian sighed inwardly. If it were Red Rose, she'd probably have pounced on me already. Thinking of Red Rose's alluring figure, Yi Xian couldn't help but gulp. Not far away, Wang Jiqi seemed to have clearly seen this and laughed out loud. After posing him, Chen Shi backed away, her face still red. Only after sitting in front of her easel did she let out a long breath and say, "Hold that pose and don't move, we're starting." While Yi Xian was modeling for Chen Shi at the Linhai headquarters of Xinhai Bank, number 2 stood at the entrance, adjusted his sunglasses, and walked into the bank. "Hello, how can I help you?" Number 2 glanced at her, then pulled out an Azure card from his bag and said calmly, "Call your highest-ranking official here." The employee, upon seeing the Azure card, her eyes suddenly narrowed. The person greeting number 2 was filled with shock. A diamond card? Zhou Qianqian had been transferred from Jiangsheng to Linhai and promoted several times because she served diamond card users. Just this morning, she'd received another promotion and raise. And now, she was actually receiving a diamond card user herself. If she could serve this person, wouldn't she have found a cash cow? Don't make a fuss. Arrange a quiet room for me and call your highest-ranking person here. Okay, please follow me. Soon, she was led to a quiet room. The receptionist poured her a glass of water and said, "Please wait a moment." Then, she left. A few minutes later, Huang Liang pushed open the door. Seeing number 2 sitting there, his expression flickered slightly. Then, with a serious face, he walked to number 2 and bowed slowly. "Greetings, Miss Huang." The former night watches number 2, surnamed Huang, full name Huang Shiqi. She looked up at Huang Liang, the corners of her mouth curving into a slight smile. "Don't mention to anyone that I came to see you, including the night watch." Huang Liang nodded quickly. "Speaking of which, I just saw Mr. Yi last night. We were so lucky to have you back then." Huang Shiqi waved her hand, interrupting him. "I'm here for Yi Xian today. Do you have his phone number?" "I only have his WeChat," Huang Liang said, "but one of our employees should have it. She's specifically in charge of Mr. Ye's business now. Call her over," Huang Shiqi said calmly. Huang Liang nodded and hurried off. 2 minutes later, Zhou Qianqian appeared at the door. Looking at the short-haired, sunglass-wearing Huang Shiqi inside, she asked softly, "Is there something I can do for you?" After a night, Zhou Qianqian seemed to have recovered. She looked no different than usual. As expected, Yi Xian still likes to find beautiful women. "You know Yi Xian? Don't be nervous. I know Yi Xian very well, better than you think," Huang Shiqi said calmly. "Give me Yi Xian's phone number." Zhou Qianqian looked at her suspiciously. Then, she noticed the Azure card Huang Shiqi was playing with in her hand. Her expression changed slightly. "How do you also have a diamond card?" Indeed, there were only 9 diamond cards in the world. It was one thing for Yi Xian to have one, but now this woman had one too. Surprised? "I got it together with Yi Xian." "It seems Yi Xian hasn't told you about his background," Huang Shiqi said with a smile. Zhou Qianqian was stunned. "Not knowing is a good thing for you." "Give me his phone number," Huang Shiqi said indifferently. Zhou Qianqian stopped being suspicious and gave her Yi Xian's number. Huang Shiqi pondered for a moment and said, "Give me your number 2. You'll be in charge of my business from now on." Zhou Qianqian was taken aback. Being in charge of 2 diamond card users meant she might climb to the top of Xinhai Bank in a very short time. She swallowed and then pursed her lips. "What is your relationship with Yi Xian?" Huang Shiqi took her phone, called herself, and then smiled faintly. "Maybe you'll find out someday." With that, Huang Shiqi put away her phone and walked out of Shanghai Bank. Elsewhere, Yi Xian had maintained the same pose for over an hour, without moving a muscle. Wang Jiechi painted, a little surprised. They often hired life models, but those people usually adjusted their pose after 10 or 15 minutes. Someone like Yi Xian, who remained completely still, was extremely rare. Of course, this challenge was far too simple for Yi Xian. Beep, beep, beep. Just then, the phone next to Yi Xian's clothes suddenly rang. Chun-Shi frowned. She walked over, picked up the phone, and said, "It's an unknown number. Bring it to my ear," Yi Xian said. Chun-Shi nodded, walked to Yi Xian's side, answered the phone, and held it to his ear. "Hello," Yi Xian asked. "Who is this?" The other end was silent for a moment. Then Yi Xian heard sobs, as if the person on the other end was emotional. "Hello, speak up," Yi Xian frowned. "Did you dial the wrong number?" At that moment, the other side seemed to have composed themselves, but their voice was still choked with sobs. "Yi Xian, guess who I am?" "Buzz!" Hearing that voice, Yi Xian's mind exploded. He abruptly stood up, grabbed the phone from Chun-Shi, and asked excitedly, "Where are you? I'll come to you right away." Beside him, Yi Ziyu frowned. "How the hell are you supposed to be a life model? Do you not understand what people are saying?" Yi Xian ignored him. Holding the phone to his ear with his shoulder, he quickly put on his clothes and pants. The speed at which he dressed almost made Wang Jiechi and Chun-Shi's jaws drop. "I'm on Binjiang Road, across from the ICBC. Stay there, don't move. I'll be right there." Then he turned to Chun-Shi and said, "Chun-Shi, I'm afraid I can't continue being your model today. Let's make another appointment sometime. I have something very important to attend to." Yi Ziyu sneered. What important thing? Isn't it just to see your little lover?" "I heard it. Just now a woman called." Before he could finish, Yi Xian's gaze suddenly fell on him. His eyes were filled with icy, killing intent. Yi Ziyu's words were cut short. He swallowed and didn't dare to say anything more. Beside them, Wang Jiechi was slightly surprised. Then a smile appeared on her lips. Chun-Shi nodded. "It's okay. I've almost finished my painting. Just a few finishing touches. If you have something to do." Before she could finish, Yi Xian was already out the door. "It's probably his girlfriend." When he answered the phone, he got all nervous. Yi Ziyu said from the side. Hearing Yi Ziyu's words, Chun-Shi frowned. At this moment, Wang Jiechi said, "Chun-Shi, did Yi Xian really spend 9 years in prison?" "It seems so," Chun-Shi said. "Why do I feel like he spent 9 years in the army? For more than an hour, just now, he didn't even move." That kind of willpower isn't something ordinary people possess. Chun-Shi was startled, then looked at the slowly closing door, pursing her lips, lost in thought. Yi Xian naturally didn't pay them any attention. He rushed out of the Huanyu Group building, hailed a taxi, and went straight to his destination. 15 minutes later, the taxi stopped in front of the ICBC. Yi Xian paid and got out of the car. He looked around, and his eyes landed on a short-haired woman with sunglasses sitting on a stone bench not far away. His eyes suddenly welled up. Although he knew number 2 had survived, when he actually saw her, Yi Xian couldn't help but tear up. In front of her, leaning against the side, stood a young man in a hoodie, but Yi Xian automatically filtered him out. He exhaled and walked forward. He stopped about 2 meters in front of Huang Shiqi. Huang Shiqi sat there, but Yi Xian clearly saw 2 lines of tears flowing down from beneath her sunglasses. Huang Shiqi softly said, "For all that breathes." Yi Xian smiled, his lips moving. "Where the blade points, the heart follows." Then they both said simultaneously, "No retreat." As the voice fell, Huang Shiqi suddenly leaped into the air and landed directly in Yi Xian's arms. Yi Xian smiled slightly, wiped his moist eyes, and held Huang Shiqi tightly in his arms. "I knew it, you definitely wouldn't die. You definitely wouldn't die." Huang Shiqi hugged Yi Xian tightly, and then she cried again, sobbing, "But Tang-Tang, Tang-Tang. He'll never come back." I saw the knife pierce his body. To cover our retreat, to complete the mission, I saw him fall in a pool of blood, and I couldn't do anything. Thinking of the scene 3 years ago, Yi Xen held Huang Shiqi, tears streaming down his face as well. He won't die, I swear, he won't die. I'll kill Helan Tian. I'll uproot the entire Voyager. I'll make all the underground forces involved in that battle pay the price. Huang Shiqi hugged Yi Xen tightly, her body trembling constantly. They hugged like this for a full 10 minutes before Huang Shiqi's emotions calmed down a bit. She sniffed, and Wu Yao, who was standing beside them, quickly handed her a tissue. At this moment, Wu Yao's face was filled with excitement. 3 years. He finally saw Yi Xen again. His hard days were over. He didn't have to work to support this glutton anymore. He could transform into a tycoon, swaggering around Linhai, spending money like water. So, at this moment, he also wanted to cry. His hard days were finally over. Yi Xen looked at him, and his heart stirred slightly. Weren't you the one following me at the entrance of the flowing fire bar last night? You really noticed me yesterday. Your anti-reconnaissance skills are crap in front of him. Huang Shiqi wiped her nose and then introduced Wu Yao to Yi Xen. This is my apprentice, Wu Yao. He saved me 3 years ago. How did you escape? Most of them went after you. Yi Xen sighed, somewhat wistfully. 3 years ago, I charged out with that iron box. Later, I was rescued by an ordinary person, but because my injuries were too severe, I lost my memory. Then I became the live-in son-in-law of the person who saved me. And then I was constantly looked down upon by my mother-in-law, working at construction sites and docks every day, carrying bricks to support the mother and daughter. Huang Shiqi paused, took off her sunglasses, revealing somewhat red eyes. You got married? Sigh, don't mention it. I'm already divorced. My mother-in-law disliked my poverty and found a rich second generation, forcing me to sign a divorce agreement. Yi Xen said, It wasn't until recently that Jichuyu found me and helped me recover my memory. Huang Shiqi suddenly laughed. Then your experiences in the past 3 years are much richer than mine. Yi Xen touched his nose. Speaking of his experiences in the past 3 years, he felt somewhat helpless. He estimated that after returning to the Night Watchman, he would be laughed at for a long time. Jichuyu and the others had already spread the story within the Night Watchman. What about you? Why didn't you return to the Night Watchman after your injuries recovered? They've been looking for you, and it wasn't until recently that they discovered your whereabouts. Dr. Zhou also told me to pay attention to your situation after coming to Linhai, but I didn't expect you to find me first. Huang Shiqi frowned. I won't go back until I've taken revenge. After going back, I'll be sent on missions everywhere, and I won't have any time. For the past 3 years, I've been hunting down the people from that battle. What about you? Why didn't you go back after regaining your memory? They said that I might be able to cooperate with them better on missions if I stayed hidden in the city. I thought it made sense, so I stayed, Yi Xen said with a smile. Huang Shiqi sneered. What's wrong? Nothing. I'm hungry. Treat me to a meal. I want to eat the most expensive, the best food. For the past 3 years, I've been following this useless apprentice, eating junk food every day. In order to avoid the Night Watchman, I didn't dare to use my bank card or my properties. I've lost weight. Beside them, Wu Yao rolled his eyes. He cursed in his heart. You eat like a pig every day. It's me who's starving and losing weight, okay? Of course, he didn't dare to say these words out loud. Okay, where do you want to eat? It's up to you. I'll make sure you're satisfied today. Wu Yao's eyes lit up slightly. I know the best restaurant in Linhai, but it's a bit expensive. You know about it, and you didn't take me there. My dear aunt, Wu Yao said with a bitter smile. That restaurant is called Manhwa Restaurant, a restaurant specifically for rich people. They have a membership system. You have to top up 50,000 to get a black iron membership card, which allows you to eat in their first floor dining hall. The average cost per person on the first floor is over 1,000. With your pig-like appetite, if we go there for a meal, I'll probably go bankrupt. Yi Xen was slightly surprised. It sounded like this restaurant was somewhat similar to the Marriott Hotel in Jiangxing. Who are you calling a pig? Me? Wu Yao quickly said. Yi Xen was amused. He looked at Wu Yao and then said, This apprentice of yours is quite interesting. Huang Shiqi said proudly. He's a bit stupid. I personally trained him for 3 years, and he only managed to become number 5 on the underground assassin rankings. He's really trash. You know, after 3 years in the Night Watchman, you already became 0. It only took me 5 years to become number 2. Back then, we all avoided the human path on the underground assassin rankings. He even had a foundation, and it took him 3 years to reach 5th place. He's really trash. Wu Yao smiled awkwardly. At this time, Huang Shiqi said, "All right, there's one more thing. I hope you can bring this guy into the Night Watchman. I'm not planning to go back before I get my revenge." Yi Xian nodded. "All right, I'll be staying in the city anyway, so you can work with me then." Huang Shiqi didn't object. Then she rubbed her stomach and said, "Let's go eat. I'm starving to death." Yi Xian nodded. They hailed a taxi. After getting in, Wu Yao took the front seat. In the back, Huang Shiqi held Yi Xian's hand the whole time, as if afraid he would leave. "Yi Xian, let her hold it." Around noon, they arrived at Manhwa restaurant. It was a relatively Chinese-style building. Yi Xian glanced at it. It had about 5 floors, although it was quite expensive. Just as Wu Yao had said, as the most famous restaurant in Linhai, it was still bustling with people at mealtimes. Of course, most of the people coming and going were Linhai's elites. Yi Xian touched his nose and said, "Do you have to top up more money on the membership card to go to the higher floors?" Wu Yao nodded. "Yes, but let's just eat on the first floor. I think the upper floors are just more comfortable with a bigger environment. The food is no different from downstairs." Huang Shiqi gritted her teeth and glared at Wu Yao. "Did you secretly bring girls here to eat? How is that possible? To be filial to you, I tighten my belt every day. You don't allow me to kill people to earn money. I'm as poor as a dog. Where do I get the money to pick up girls?" "Humph." Huang Shiqi glared at him. Yi Xian nodded. "Okay, then we'll eat on the first floor." With that, the 3 of them walked towards the entrance. At the door, there were 2 rows of 6 women dressed in kipeos. Seeing Yi Xian and the others approaching, the 6 beauties bowed simultaneously and said, "Welcome." Hearing the pleasant voices, Yi Xian felt that it was worth spending 1,000 yuan just to hear this welcome. "Hello, which floor would you like to dine on? We want to apply for a membership card." The woman in the cheap house eyes lit up slightly. Yi Xian didn't notice that as they went to apply for the membership card, behind them, Zhang Yu also walked into Manhwa restaurant with a few people. He saw Yi Xian, and a sinister smile appeared on his lips. Beside him sat 4 young people, 2 men and 2 women. The women were attractive, with the standard Wang, internet celebrity, look, each clinging to a man's arm. One of the men sported a large tattoo. The other had a cold demeanor, hands shoved in his pockets. The tattooed man glanced towards Yi Xian, his eyes lingering on Huang Shiqi's back. Even from behind, her figure was captivating, and he licked his lips. "You know them?" "Brother Jun," Zhang Yu said with a fawning smile. "You've definitely heard of him. The guy who raped by Xi 9 years ago, Yi Xian." "Him? And the girl?" Zhang Yu looked over, envy in his eyes. "No idea. But Yi Xian's got some serious game. Even after prison, he's surrounded by gorgeous women. Remember Bai Yao and those 3 beauties from Jiangxing? All knew him, and he's close with Chun Meixian and Chen Shi. Now this new one. Where does he find them?" A waitress in a cheap how approached. "Welcome. Will you be dining on the 5th floor again?" She recognized the men, especially Zhang Yu, a popular internet celebrity. And the tattooed man, Fang Jun, was infamous among Linhai's youth. His notoriety stemmed from his father, Fang Han, a former underworld boss who transitioned to legitimate businesses, mostly nightclubs and real estate. Bai Chi's Flowing Fire Bar, for instance, was a joint venture with Fang Jun. Families like the Yes were influential, but not feared. People like Fang Jun, however, were truly dangerous. Crossing them could have unpredictable consequences. The aloof young man was Liu Bai. His grandfather, Liu Yunshan, was the only person in Linhai with a Xinhai Bank diamond card. They might not be the wealthiest, but their status was undeniable. No one wanted to offend them. Zhang Yu grinned. "Brother Jun interested in the girl?" Fang Jun licked his lips. "She's definitely something." Liu Bai frowned. "Don't cause trouble." "Relax, no trouble," Zhang Yu said smoothly. Meanwhile, Yi Xian easily obtained a membership card. The restaurant's pricing was reasonable with a card. Higher tiers simply offered better discounts. Which floor would you like to dine on? The first floor is fine. Yi Xian smiled. The waitress led them to a table and handed Yi Xian a menu. This is the first floor menu. The restaurant was upscale, the menu thick, each page showcasing a single dish with a tempting photo. The first floor offered around 30 options. Higher floors had more. Huang Shiqi, without opening the menu, handed it back to the waitress. We'll take one of everything. What? The waitress looked confused. Every dish on the menu. Huang Shiqi clarified. Wu Yao gave Yi Xian a look that screamed. See? I told you I couldn't afford her. Yi Xian had glimpsed the prices. Even the cheapest dishes were several hundred yuan, the most expensive several thousand. Most tables ordered only 3 or 4, the portions being generous. Huang Shiqi's order was excessive, one of everything. Yi Xian confirmed to the waitress. Don't worry, we'll finish it. Huang Shiqi beamed at him. Generous, much better than my disciple here. These past 3 years. Huang Shiqi sighed dramatically. Wu Yao gave a weak smile. A sneering voice interrupted. Well, Yi Xian, out picking up girls again? Can you even afford to eat here? Yi Xian frowned at Zhang Yu. Before he could respond, Huang Shiqi's eyes flashed. Whose dog is barking? Is it yours, Yi Xian? Zhang Yu paused, then continued with a smirk. Honey, you probably don't know, but this guy's a rapist. Drugged and raped a girl. Be careful. He pointed. See those two over there? That's Fang Jun and Liu Bai of the Liu family. Zhang Yu said smugly. Yi Xian smiled faintly. You certainly know a lot of rich kids. Zhang Yu puffed up with pride. Why eat on the first floor? My friends would be delighted to have you join us on the 5th. Nearby diners overheard, eyes widening. The 5th floor averaged tens of thousands of yuan per person. It was extravagant. Enjoying the attention, Zhang Yu addressed Huang Shiqi. We'd be honored if you join us. Liu Bai and Fang Jun are very eager. You're such a pathetic lapdog. Yi Xian scoffed, especially with that getup. You look like a eunuch. Now go away before you ruin my appetite. Zhang Yu was stunned. No woman in Linhai had ever refused Liu Bai and Fang Jun. Ordinary women flocked to them. Wealthy women coveted their status. But Huang Shiqi seemed utterly unimpressed. Just then, Fang Jun approached, patted Zhang Yu on the shoulder, sneered at Yi Xian, and addressed Huang Shiqi. Calling us dogs is a bit much, don't you think? He turned to Yi Xian. You're Yi Xian? The one who raped Bai Xian. Yi Xian looked up, touching his nose. Can I help you? This isn't a place for you. Fang Jun said, smiling thinly. He looked back at Huang Shiqi. I'll show you exactly what kind of dog I am. He beckoned a waiter. Get your manager, and have these people removed. The waitress, a girl in a qipao who looked to be in her early 20s, was one of Manhwa restaurant's exclusively female staff, most of whom were quite attractive. She clearly recognized Fang Jun, then glanced at Yi Xian and frowned. Mr. Fang, this seems to be against the rules. Rules? Do you not know who I am? I do, but Manhwa restaurant doesn't have a rule about kicking out customers. It seems you still don't know me. Remember this today, I, Fang Jun, and the rules. Yi Xian and Huang Shiqi exchanged glances, both seeing amusement in the other's eyes. Fang Jun continued to address the waitress. Do you still want to work here? If you can't make the decision, call your manager. The commotion quickly attracted attention, and soon a woman in her 30s, wearing an OL suit and glasses, walked over. She giggled and said, Oh, Mr. Fang, what has caused you such anger? Fang Jun glanced at her, then at Yi Xian and Huang Shiqi, and said indifferently, Get these two out of here. The Manhwa restaurant manager frowned. Mr. Fang, I'm afraid that's not appropriate. We're open for business. What sense does it make to kick out customers? It's simple. They offended me. I invited this beautiful lady to dinner, and she refused, even calling me a nobody. I just want to show her who the real nobody is. Beside him, Zhang Yu looked smug, sneering at Yi Xian. Besides, this guy is a rapist. He spent 9 years in prison for rape. I think having someone like him eating here will affect Manhwa restaurant's reputation. Fong Jun looked up and frowned. Of course, you can stick to your principles and not kick them out. But that means that from today onwards, I, Lu Bai, and our friends will never dine at Manhwa restaurant again. This place catered to high-end consumers. In other words, the clientele was fixed, just a certain group of people. And someone like Fong Jun was a big client. His friends probably brought in millions in profit for Manhwa restaurant every month. Zhang Yu smiled smugly. Yexen, if I were you, I'd just get out of here and have the beauty beside you proactively dine with Brother Jun. In Linhai City, provoking Brother Jun isn't a wise choice. The manager was in a difficult position. She looked at Xian and Huang Shiqi and said politely, "You three, how about?" "What's going on?" A powerful voice boomed, and a man in a Zhongshan suit with a crew cut walked down from upstairs. He looked to be in his 40s or 50s, energetic and with a straight back. The manager quickly bowed. "Boss, Boss Qin, these people have upset me. Kick them out, or my friends, and I will never dine here again." Boss Qin frowned. He looked at Lu Bai beside him. Lu Bai frowned slightly and then said to the boss, "Uncle Qin, these people are really quite unreasonable." Boss Qin looked towards Xian and Huang Shiqi. The moment his gaze landed on their faces, his own trembled slightly. Xian and Huang Shiqi looked bewildered. Clearly, this Boss Qin recognized them, but neither of them had much of an impression of him. Boss Qin exhaled and walked towards them. Beside him, Zhang Yu and Fong Jun looked smug, as if they were already seeing Xian and the others being thrown out. Lu Bai also walked forward with two women. Boss Qin reached Xian and Huang Shiqi, bowed slightly, and said, "My apologies, I've disturbed your meal." "Nothing to apologize for. This guy's a rapist, the scum of society. No need to apologize to them, just kick them out." Fong Jun chuckled, gave Xian and Huang Shiqi a mocking glance, and smiled smugly. "Beautiful lady, now you know who's the nobody." Slap! Boss Qin suddenly turned around, his hands rising. In an instant, he slapped Zhang Yu and Fong Jun across the face. The crisp sound silenced the entire first floor. Everyone's eyes turned towards them. After a brief moment of stunned silence, Fong Jun flew into a rage, raising his fist and cursing, "Old man, you dare hit me." At that moment, Lu Bai quickly grabbed him. Boss Qin looked calmly at Fong Jun. "If you don't want to eat here, then get out. I don't need your business. If you want to continue eating here, apologize to these two." Fong Jun's face twisted in anger. Beside him, Zhang Yu was dumbfounded. He never expected things to turn out this way. He looked at Xian and Huang Shiqi, who were looking back at them with amusement. He looked around again and found everyone staring at them. Slapped in public, his face burned with shame. "You want me to apologize to them?" "Qin Zhongliu, I'll remember this slap. This isn't over." Lu Bai, who had remained silent, frowned. He didn't say anything to Qin Zhongliu, but looked at Xian calmly. "Xian, you can't afford an apology from Fong Jun and me. Even though Boss Qin delivered that slap, it will be counted against you." Xian shrugged indifferently, saying nothing. "Stop wasting your breath. Get out, and don't come back here again." Fong Jun sneered, looked at Xian and Huang Shiqi, licked his lips, and said, "Fine, I'll remember this. And you, sooner or later, I'll make you crawl into my bed and beg me for mercy." A cold glint flashed in Huang Shiqi's eyes. Xian shook his head at her. "Let's go." He felt more humiliated with each passing minute. Seeing them leave, Qin Zhongliu turned to Xian and Huang Shiqi. "Honored guests, my establishment's management was inadequate, causing you trouble. Please join me on the 6th floor for dinner. This meal is on the house." Lu Bai and Fong Jun, who hadn't yet left, froze, stopping in their tracks. Lu Bai turned back in astonishment. Manhwa restaurant had 6 floors, but only 5 were open to the public. Lu Bai knew that the 6th floor was reserved for Qin Zhongliu's most honored guests. But that floor wouldn't even open once a year. His grandfather had a good relationship with Qin Zhongliu, but even his grandfather had never been to the 6th floor. Now Qin Zhongliu was inviting Xian and Huang Shiqi to dine on the 6th floor, which truly surprised him. After Zhang Yu's introduction, he knew who Xin was. Qin Zhongliu shouldn't be inviting someone like him to the 6th floor. Is this a tactic to appease other customers? Or is this woman's background very significant? She was very calm when facing Fang Jun and me. While he was pondering, Xin, Huang Shiqi, and Wu Yao stood up and walked upstairs. Wu Yao even winked at them, further infuriating Fang Jun. Damn it, why are we still standing here? To be humiliated? He strode out the door and left. Xin and the others reached the 6th floor. It was incredibly quiet. They entered a private room. Just as they walked in, Qin Zhongliu exhaled, then said, his body trembling, "Greetings, 02. Greetings, number 2, number 0. His voice trembled, but his hand slowly rose to his head in a standard military salute. Xion's heart stirred. In truth, he had been suspicious as to why Qin Zhongliu recognized him and helped him. When these words were spoken, Xion understood completely. Huang Shiqi's expression shifted slightly. She looked at him and asked, "Are you a night watcher?" Qin Zhongliu sighed. "I retired 4 or 5 years ago and took over this Rongwa restaurant. Perhaps you haven't seen me before. I'm just a nobody. In the Night Watchers, I was only ranked over 1,000. Why did you retire?" Qin Zhongliu sighed again. "I was seriously injured during a mission. I'm lucky to be alive. I couldn't withstand the strain anymore, so I retired from the front lines." Then, with a hint of longing in his voice, he said, "Speaking of which, when I was in service, the two of you were in your prime. Are you in Linhai on a mission?" Xin shook his head. "Not really. I came here by chance. My reputation in Linhai isn't very good. I was wrongly accused of rape, and I came back this time mainly to investigate and clear my name." Qin Zhongliu was stunned, then nodded. "I've heard about that. Actually, I have a very good relationship with Lei Bin. He contacted me before to inquire about this matter, but there wasn't much evidence." "Evidence can always be found." Qin Zhongliu nodded. "Indeed, with Night Watcher 0 on the case. Earlier, because of the Night Watcher Code of Conduct and not wanting to expose you to, I didn't do too much. Otherwise, I would have forced that Fang Jun to kneel and apologize to you. These rich second-generation kids think they're hot stuff just because their families have some money." Xian waved his hand. "It's fine. Anyway, thank you for what you did earlier." Qin Zhongliu quickly shook his head. "You've sacrificed so much for this world. I can't accept your thanks. The dishes you ordered will be served right away. I'll also give you 4 of our restaurant's signature dishes, all free of charge. Later, I'll send you 3 of our restaurant's Black Gold Supreme membership cards. With these cards, you can enjoy free meals at Rongwa Restaurant. You don't have to go to so much trouble. It's nothing." Beside them, Wu Yao was nearly moved to tears. Rongwa Restaurant's membership cards, to a certain extent, were like Xinhao Bank's bank cards, a status symbol. From now on, with this black gold membership card, wouldn't the girls flock to him? And he could bring them to Rongwa Restaurant to eat for free. It was the ultimate tool for picking up girls. As expected, after meeting Xin, my luck has changed. Enjoy your meal. I have some things to attend to, so I'll take my leave." Then, he asked for Xin and Huang Shiyun's phone numbers. "Also, if you have any needs in Linhai, please call me immediately. I may not be the richest person in Linhai, but I have connections in all the major families." Xin nodded. "Thank you." Not long after Qin Zhongliu left, the dishes they ordered began to arrive one after another. Then, Huang Shiqi began to eat with abandon, muttering, "This is so delicious." In fact, Xin didn't know what Huang Shiqi's stomach was made of. In the Night Watchers, besides her title of number 2, she also had the nickname Piggy Girl. Of course, this wasn't the same as the internet slang. Her nickname described her ability to eat more than a pig. Xin smiled throughout the meal. Just being able to see Huang Shiqi again was enough. This was a woman he could trust with his back. Unless she died, his back would never be threatened. While they were eating in a sports car elsewhere, 5 people were sitting inside. Zhang Yu was now their driver, sitting in the front and driving, not daring to say a word. Lu Bai sat in the passenger seat, his face also looking unpleasant. In the back, Fong Jun was cursing loudly. Lu Bai, what the hell are you afraid of that old man for? If you hadn't stopped me just now, I would have beaten him to death. Lu Bai frowned. If I hadn't stopped you, you might have caused a big problem. This Qin Zhongliu is very low-key, but even my grandfather is always polite to him. Remember that old man from the Shin family? He was considered a prominent tycoon in Linhai. He flipped a table at Rongwa restaurant, and a month later, the Shin family went bankrupt. He definitely has some powerful backing, so we'd better not provoke him. Damn it! That's the first time I've ever been so humiliated, Zhang Yu quickly said. It's all because of that Yi Xian. You have no idea that Yi Xian has become very arrogant since he got out of jail, provoking Bai Qi and Yi Huan one after another. He provoked Yi Huan and Bai Qi too? Yes, Yi Huan's hand injury was caused by Yi Xian. As for Bai Qi, he's a siscon. Bai Xian was raped by Yi Xian, so Bai Qi naturally won't let Yi Xian off the hook. That's great! Fong Jun's expression shifted slightly. Let's get together tonight, call them all over. It's boring anyway. We can discuss how to mess with a Yi Xian kid, have some fun. Lu Bai didn't speak, just blew his bangs off his forehead. As Yi Xian and Wu Yao watched in astonishment, Huang Shiqi ate almost all the dishes on the table clean. Then she licked her lips, looking unsatisfied. You ate way too much, Yi Xian said, speechless, and couldn't help but reach out and touch her stomach. Huang Shiqi's stomach was still flat, without a trace of fat. Yi Xian said helplessly, I really don't know where all that food went. Huang Shiqi seemed accustomed to Yi Xian's actions. She said contentedly, this tastes so good. And it's free, I guess we'll have to come here often. Then, she looked at Yi Xian and said, find some time to send Wu Yao to the Night Watchers for training. Try to get him to catch up to our level as soon as possible. At least don't let him hold us back. Tang Tang is gone forever. After we get our revenge, we still have to go back and fill out the team. Yi Xian nodded. Okay, let's schedule a time tomorrow. I'll have Qin Guoxing pick him up. Huang Shiqi nodded. All right, I'll take him back first and tell him what to watch out for. Also, I won't be going back for a while, so I can't see you often. Let's try to keep in touch through WeChat and phone calls. Okay, Yi Xian said. The three took their black gold cards and walked out of Rongwa restaurant, then took separate taxis home. In the taxi, Wu Yao looked at Huang Shiqi next to him and asked, Master, why didn't you tell him the truth? Huang Shiqi sighed. It's good enough to see him again. Let me bear this burden alone. You remember too, don't tell him a word. Wu Yao pouted, then didn't say anything more. On the other side, Yi Xian spent the afternoon playing games at an internet cafe, and at 6 o'clock he slowly took a taxi home. When he arrived at the entrance of his residential complex and just got out of the car, 2 car horns sounded beside him. At the same time, a voice called out, Yi Xian? Yi Xian turned his head and saw a black car parked not far away. Then, the car door opened, and a man in his 30s, dressed in a suit and with slick back hair, walked out of the car. Seeing this person, Yi Xian's expression shifted slightly. He was handsome, and if you looked closely, you could see that he bore a 6 out of 10 resemblance to Yi Ziyu. This person was Yi Zikin, the first heir of the 3rd generation of the Yi family. Yi Zikin walked up to Yi Xian, his face full of undisguised disdain. He looked Yi Xian up and down and said, if it weren't for that incident back then, you wouldn't be so miserable now. But your dad's not bad, working his way up to vice president at Hanyu Group, still able to let you take a taxi. Yi Xian glanced at him. Yi Zikin chuckled. Haven't eaten yet, right? My dad and Uncle Yi Hung want to treat you to dinner. Although I think someone like you isn't qualified to sit with us. It's my dad's idea, so I can't do anything about it. Not interested. Yi Xian shrugged and turned to leave. But Yi Jingyan is already on his way. It'll be a little awkward for me if you don't go. Yi Zikin helplessly spread his hands, looking at Yi Xian with an ambiguous smile. Yi Zikin was always putting on airs. As far back as Yi Xian could remember, he'd been like that. He was the first male heir born to the Yi family's direct line in 3 generations, born with a silver spoon in his mouth, the first in line to inherit the family fortune. He was arrogant and had looked down on everyone since he was a child. Moreover, He was quite capable. 3 years older than Yi Xin. He was already a graduate student at a top 5 university in the world when Yi Xin, at 18, entered college. Yes, he'd skipped grades since he was young. Academically, he was the other people's child everyone envied. When Yi Xin was younger, his grades were also quite good, and coupled with Yi Jingen's capabilities at the time, Yi Xin was also valued by the Yi family. They intended to cultivate him as Yi Zikin's right-hand man. Because Yi Xin was from a branch family, he might manage some companies, but he would never inherit the Yi family's shares, only earning a salary. Therefore, since childhood, Yi Zikin had displayed a considerable sense of superiority when facing Yi Xin. It was even more so now. His eyes, his tone of voice, all revealed a deep disdain for Yi Xin. Yi Xin looked at him, exhaled, and walked over to open the car door. "My car isn't for someone like you." Yi Zikin blocked the car, saying indifferently, "The address is Manhwa restaurant. Take a taxi yourself. I'll wait for you at the entrance. It's only because of my father that you're even allowed into such a high-class restaurant." After finishing, he opened the car door, sat in the driver's seat, quickly started the car, and sped off. Yi Xion's face darkened. Yi Zikin's father, Yi Zhongheng, was the current public head of the Yi family. Yi Zikin's grandfather had already retired. He didn't know why they had suddenly called him and his father to dinner. If it were just him, Yi Xian wouldn't have bothered, but now his father was already on his way. So he had to go. "I should have just stayed away," Yi Xian cursed. He had just taken a taxi back from the vicinity of Rongwo restaurant. Hailing another taxi, Yi Xian returned to Rongwo restaurant. Soon, the car stopped at Rongwo restaurant. Inside, it was already full of people. At the entrance, Yi Zikin stood in a suit. Seeing Yi Xian, he still wore that disdainful look and waved his hand, saying, "Let's go." The two entered Rongwo restaurant and went directly up to the 5th floor. The 5th floor was different from the first. The first floor had a main dining hall and booths, while the 5th floor was entirely private rooms, much nicer and quieter than the first floor. "Do you know what kind of place Rongwo restaurant is?" Reaching the 5th floor, Yi Zikin chuckled. "Rongwo restaurant is the best restaurant in Linhai, and the 5th floor is the most expensive and the best place to dine in Linhai. My father actually brought you here. What a waste." Yi Xian ignored him. Seeing Yi Xian's silence, Yi Zikin sneered and walked forward. Yi Xian followed behind. They arrived at a private room, and Yi Zikin pushed open the door, saying to the people inside, "Dad, Uncle Yi Hung, I brought Yi Xian." Yi Xian also walked to the doorway, and then his brow furrowed slightly. Inside the room, there was a large round table with many people seated around it. Yi Hung, whom Yi Xian had been searching for, was among them. He sat there brazenly, swirling a glass of red wine. Besides him were other people, the burly Bai Chi, and beside him a girl. When Yi Xian's eyes fell on the girl, his whole body trembled slightly. This girl was very beautiful, bearing a slight resemblance to Bai Yao. She had long, black hair, wore a long black dress, and sat quietly. Seeing Yi Xian enter, she looked up, her eyes flashing with a complex emotion, before lowering her head again, looking at the table. This person was Bai Xian, the female protagonist in the incident 9 years ago. Yi Xian hadn't expected her to be here. Besides them was Yi Jingen. He sat there somewhat nervously, his face pale, clearly having heard some unpleasant words earlier. "Yi Xian is here." Yi Zhongheng, sitting at the table, beckoned. "I haven't seen you in 9 years. You've matured a lot. Comme c'est? Comme c'est?" Yi Zikin chuckled, walked past Yi Xian, pulled out a chair, and sat down. Yi Xian's gaze swept over everyone. Then he looked at Yi Jingen and said, "Dad, let's go." Hearing this, everyone frowned. Yi Zikin snorted coldly. "Yi Xian, are you getting too big for your britches? We're giving you face by letting you eat here. Don't push it." Yi Xian ignored him. At this time, Yi Zhongheng chuckled and looked at Yi Jingen. "Jingen, think carefully about whether you want to eat this meal or not." Yi Jingen frowned, then looked at Yi Xian. "Yi Xian, come and sit down first." Yi Xian's expression shifted slightly. He looked at his father, then walked over, pulled out a chair, and sat down. Beside him, Yi Zikin sneered. I thought you had some backbone. Aren't you still obediently sitting down? Zikin, say less. Yi Zhongheng said. Then he looked at Yi Xin, smiling. The reason we invited you father and son here today is for three things. Yi Xin remained silent. Beside him, Yi Jingyan, who had apparently already heard about it, wore a conflicted expression. Yi Zhongheng continued. The first thing, I heard that after you came back, you've been investigating the events of 9 years ago. Yi Xian's heart stirred. It must have been Yi Yunsheng who reported it. He just hadn't expected Yi Zhongheng to approach him because of this. So what if I am? Yi Zhongheng smiled and then looked at Bai Xian beside him. That incident caused Bai Xian a great deal of harm 9 years ago. Now you're back investigating, which is undoubtedly rubbing salt in her wounds. Since you've been released from prison, we've discussed it with Bai Xian and the Bai family, and we suggest you stop investigating. Yi Xian was amused. He said with a sardonic smile, Sorry, I don't accept your suggestion. Don't be hasty. Let me finish. Yi Zhongheng said. You've returned to Linhai and have had some conflicts with Zhou Rui and Bai Qi. We can help you completely resolve these issues and ensure they won't bother you again. The second thing, Yi Zhongheng said indifferently. The second thing has something to do with your father. Jingyan is currently the vice president of Hanyu Group. Our Yi family and Hanyu Group are competitors in many industries. I don't know why, but Hanyu Group always seems to want to compete with us, which isn't good for either of us. So we hope he can mediate and help us achieve a win-win cooperation. Yi Xian was amused. Hanyu Group's competition with the Yi family was naturally because of him. At this time, Yi Zhongheng continued. As for the third thing, it's very simple. As long as you agree to the first two things, I can propose to have your names added back to the family genealogy, officially recognizing you back into the family. Yi Xian's heart stirred slightly. He probably knew what his father was struggling with. Returning to the family genealogy was one thing, but after how the Yi family treated them, they had long since become indifferent to it. The main issue was the first point. Although it was phrased as a discussion and a suggestion, it was in fact a threat. It meant that if Yi Xian continued to investigate, neither the Yi family nor the Bai family would let it go. Yi Jingyan was probably worried that he would face retaliation from both families, hence his hesitation. Yi Xian glanced at Bai Xian, who was looking down, then his lips moved slightly. Dad, let's go. That month, Yi Xian had absolutely no desire to respond to the things they brought up. Investigate? Why shouldn't he investigate? As for threats? Frankly, he didn't even take the threats of these families seriously. Yi Xian's current global assets were more than comparable to the Yi families. Not to mention that Yi Xian had the entire night watch behind him. As for the second point, it seemed that the Yi family was struggling with the competition. It appeared as if he was asking Yi Jingyan to do something, but it was as though he had given Yi Jingyan some enormous benefit. And what this exchange brought was acknowledgement of ancestry. This was even more of a joke. 9 years ago, Yi Xian's incident was a frame-up. If he hadn't joined the night watch, Yi Xian would have faced imprisonment for life. His father was removed from the family genealogy, and after his father's removal, while looking for work in Linhai, the Yi family interfered. They knew Yi Jingyan's capabilities and worried that he would build up his own business. Those few years weren't easy for Yi Jingyan, until Yi Xian came to own the Hanyu Group and his situation improved. So, was there any need to acknowledge this ancestry? He'd be better off digging up the Yi family ancestors' coffins. He didn't bother to say anything to the Yi family and felt there was no need to respond, so he simply told his father to leave. Yi Jingyan was slightly stunned, but hearing Yi Xian say this, he understood his son's attitude. Although worried, he decided to follow Yi Xian's wishes. After all, in his heart, he also hoped that Yi Xian could clear his name. What do you mean? Yi Zikin slammed the table. Yi Xian, remember, this is Linhai. Yi Xian looked up at him, then at Yi Zhongheng and Yi Hong beside him, and asked indifferently, What are you afraid of if you don't want me to investigate? Afraid? Yi Zhongheng smiled. There's nothing to be afraid of. The matter was concluded a long time ago. You can't overturn it. We just think that 9 years have passed, you're out now, and the Bai family doesn't want you to continue investigating. causing by Xion's secondary harm. Of course, if you want to continue pursuing it, you need to consider the consequences. Yi Xion chuckled. Consequences? He'd heard this kind of threat countless times in his life. He didn't even bother to retort. If the Yi family wanted to hide things and provoke him, he wouldn't be polite. He didn't want to waste his breath on them. He didn't come to negotiate. He came only to make sure Yi Jingyan was safe, to take him back. Dad, let's go, Yi Xion said with a smile. Yi Jingyan nodded and stood up. Yi Zikin sneered. Yi Xion, because of your arrival, this meal has already been ordered. A bottle of red wine costs 300,000, plus the dishes on the table. This meal is almost 400,000. Since you're not appreciative, pay for your 2 meals before you leave. He waved his hand. Waiter! A beautiful waitress dedicated to their service walked in and asked, What can I do for you? We're splitting the bill. They want to leave. Calculate their share and collect their money, Yi Zikin said indifferently. Yi Jingyan turned to look at them. 400,000 wasn't much for Yi Zikin and the others, but what Yi Zikin was doing was purely to spite them. Yi Jingyan frowned. Yi Zikin scoffed. Yi Jingyan, you can't even afford a few 100,000, can you? The waitress looked embarrassed but still dutifully looked at Yi Xion and Yi Jingyan. Your current consumption is 432,000. However, since Mr. Yi Zhongheng is our platinum member, he can enjoy a 30% discount. The total is... Don't apply our membership card to them. Deduct their portion first, Yi Zikin interrupted. Yi Jingyan's expression darkened. He had just arrived, hadn't done anything, hadn't eaten anything, and yet he was being asked to pay hundreds of thousands. This was absurd. Yi Xion glanced at the waitress, then at Yi Zikin, and then took out a black card with gold edges from his pocket and placed it lightly in front of the waitress. The waitress was taken aback and quickly said, Please. Yi Xion put away the card and walked out with Yi Jingyan. Since Yi Xion's back was to Yi Zikin and the others, they hadn't seen what had happened. Seeing Yi Xion and Yi Jingyan leave without paying, Yi Zikin quickly snapped. Why did you let them go? I said we were splitting the bill. Don't put their share on our tab. The waitress hurriedly explained. They have our Black Gold membership card. Black Gold members can dine for free at Manhwa restaurant. Black Gold membership card? Yi Zikin was stunned. How could he have the Manhwa restaurant's Black Gold membership card? Didn't you check? The others were also stunned, their faces full of disbelief. Yi Zhongheng frowned and said, It must be Lei Bin's. Lei Bin has a good relationship with Qin Zhongliu, the owner of Manhwa restaurant. Everyone knows he has a Black Gold card here. Yi Zikin snorted coldly. He was extremely unhappy to let Yi Xion and Yi Jingyan leave like this. Bai Xion, with a beautiful face, bit her lip and said to Bai Qi, Brother, I'll be out for a moment. Bai Qi sighed and didn't speak. Bai Xion got up and walked out. Watching them leave, Yi Heng swirled his wine glass and said to Yi Zhongheng, He spent 9 years in prison. He definitely won't let it go, so... Yi Zhongheng exhaled, looked at Bai Qi, and said calmly, Bai Qi, come out for a moment. Bai Qi frowned. Yi Zhongheng smiled. Don't worry, we won't renege on the cooperation we promised you. Once this project is completed, your family's crisis will naturally be resolved. Thank you, Uncle Yi, Bai Qi said, standing up and leaving the private room. Indeed, in this world there were ups and downs. 9 years had reduced the once prominent Bai family of Lin Hai to having to compromise. First, they tried to rely on a marriage alliance with the Zhou family, and with the Zhou family preoccupied, they had to cooperate with the Yi family. After Bai Qi left, Yi Zhongheng glanced at Yi Heng and said calmly, Do it cleanly. Don't leave any traces. Don't worry. Yi Heng swirled his wine glass, the corners of his mouth curling into a sinister smile. Yi Xion and Yi Jingyan walked towards the first floor. As they walked, Yi Jingyan frowned and asked, Yi Xion, how did you get the Black Gold card here? It's from Mr. Lei Bin. Everyone here knows him. He doesn't need to use it. He can just swipe his face. So he gave it to me, saying I could bring my friends here to eat, Yi Xion said. He might as well blame everything on Lei Bin. Yi Jingyan looked at him doubtfully. As they talked, they reached the entrance. Yi Xian frowned and said, Dad, don't interact with the Yi family anymore. No matter what they say, whether they invite you to dinner or want to talk about other things, don't pay attention to them. I'll investigate my own matters. With Mr. Lay around, they won't dare to do anything to me. Yi Jing'an nodded. I was still a bit worried, so I came over today. He pressed his car key. Let's go home first. Yi Xian nodded. Just then a voice called out behind him. Yi Xian. He turned around and saw Bai Xian, dressed in a knee-length black dress, standing at the entrance like a goddess, calling his name. Yi Xian's expression shifted slightly. He looked at Yi Jing'an and said, Dad, you go back first. I'll take a taxi back later. Yi Jing'an nodded, got in the car, and started the engine. After he left, Bai Xian walked up to Yi Xian. Her eyes were filled with complex emotions. She pursed her lips and said, Let's find a place to talk. Let's talk, Bai Xian said calmly. Looking at Yi Xian, Yi Xian was taken aback. Though both were by family women, Bai Xian and Bai Yao shared only their beauty. Their personalities were polar opposites. Bai Yao was quiet and reserved. Bai Xian had a fiery temper. 9 years ago, when she woke up in that hotel room, her first reaction had been to grab a kitchen knife and chase him down the street. He'd expected yelling, maybe even violence, but this calm request to talk. It was unsettling. The past 9 years had clearly changed her. Okay, he agreed. They walked in silence to a nearby cafe. The awkwardness prompted Yi Xian to speak. I heard you got married? Yes, she nodded. Congratulations, he mumbled, scratching his head. A faint smile touched her lips. You're investigating what happened back then? He nodded. Whether you believe me or not, I was framed. I was drunk. I don't know how. He hesitated. How we ended up together. Or why the security footage showed me taking you to the room. I want to clear my name. Bai Xian swirled her coffee, murmuring, I believe you. Yi Xian stared at her, surprised. She sighed, not elaborating but continuing. It was my fault too. I overreacted, chasing you with a knife. If we'd handled it privately, maybe agreed to marry after graduation or something, it would have all blown over. Yi Xian was speechless. Bai Xian's eyes reddened. But my family found out. They were so ashamed. It became a huge scandal. She wiped her eyes. Sorry. Yi Xian frowned, uncomfortable with this new, subdued Bai Xian. Anyway, she said, I believe you were framed. If you need anything, I'll help. He was dumbfounded. She'd sought him out to offer him help. Thank you, but it's complicated. The Yi family doesn't want me digging around, which means someone high up is involved. I don't want to put you in danger. Besides, I have some leads. She studied him. You've matured. It's good. The awkwardness returned. He coughed. Well, if there's nothing else, I should go. My parents are waiting for dinner. Let's exchange contacts, she said. He felt uneasy. She was married. Adding her on social media felt wrong, but he couldn't refuse. She was a victim in all this. He, despite being framed, had benefited, joining the night watch and becoming who he was today. Okay, he agreed. He added her and practically fled the cafe. Bai Xian watched him go, a wistful look in her eyes. Still so clueless, she murmured. On the street, Yi Xian breathed a sigh of relief. That conversation had been more stressful than fighting a group of night watch elders. His phone rang. Hey, Qianqian, what's up? Yi Xian, Zhou Qianqian whispered. Could you accompany me to an antique auction? Before he could answer, she rushed on. There's a man who keeps pestering me, wanting to go with me. I'm a little worried. Okay, send me the address. It's at the Fuxing Hotel. I'll wait for you at the entrance, she replied quickly. He hung up and called his father. Dad, a friend invited me to dinner. I won't be home. Yi Jing'an paused. Yi Xian, Bai Xian, is married now. You. Dad, we broke up. What are you thinking? Exasperated, Yi Xian hung up. He hailed a cab and headed to the Fuxing Hotel, a large, 5-star establishment. Zhou Qianqian stood at the entrance with a short, plump man who was saying, Qianqian, I know you love antiques. Just tell me if you see anything you like. Thank you, but I'll bid myself if I see something I want, she said, frowning. Don't be so polite. I tried to see you several times since you're back in Linhai, but you're always working. I told my parents about you. They're very impressed. They want to meet your parents for dinner. Mao Jun, I've told you repeatedly. I'm not interested. Please stop bothering me. I have someone I like. You've been saying that since high school. Where is this mystery person? Mao Jun pressed. Let's go in. The auction's about to start. I'm waiting for someone, she insisted. Xian coughed, approaching them. Qianqian, I'm here. Zhou Qianqian's face brightened, and she hurried to his side. Mao Jun looked Xian up and down. Isn't this the Yi family rapist from 9 years ago? And you are? Mao Jun, my family are the biggest antique dealers in Linhai. He looked down his nose at Xian, then at Zhou Qianqian. Qianqian, why are you with this man? He's a notorious rapist. Who I associate with is none of your business, Zhou Qianqian said. Xian, let's go inside. As they turned to leave, Mao Jun grabbed Xian's arm. Stay away from Qianqian. She's mine. Xian easily shook him off. Let's go, Qianqian. Mao Jun's face darkened. He followed them inside, glaring at Xian. Qianqian, the auctioneers are friends of mine. I can get you a discount, and I can help you spot fakes. They reached the hall in trance. Zhou Qianqian presented their tickets, and they entered the crowded room. She found their seats and sat down with Xian. Mao Jun sat behind them. In the front row sat several young men in sunglasses, their legs crossed, radiating an air of intimidation. They were Fang Jun, Liu Bai, Zhang Yu, and Yi Huan. Besides Zhang Yu, the other three, Fang Jun, Liu Bai, and Yi Huan, were Linhai's top Fuerdai, rich second-generation elites. They sat in the front row, untouchable. Fang Jun, eyeing Yi Huan's bandaged hand, chuckled. Yi Huan, getting beat up by a guy fresh out of prison, someone your own family kicked out, and he's walking around just fine? How embarrassing. Yi Huan snorted, crossing his legs. Did you not hear what Zhang Yu said? You and Liu Bai tried to throw him out of Rongwo restaurant and got thrown out yourselves by Qin Zhongliu. Fang Jun glared at Zhang Yu, then sneered. That old man will learn what happens when you cross me. He turned to Yi Huan. Want to team up and teach Xian a lesson? How? Yi Huan asked. Simple. I supply the muscle. You cover the costs. Xian's always been strong, a good fighter. I know some skilled guys. We rough him up, and you pay for the damages, whatever they may be. Deal? Deal. Yi Huan agreed calmly. Liu Bai, still aloof, simply said, the auction is starting. In the back, Zhou Qianqian said excitedly to Xian, there's supposed to be some really valuable stuff here today. I can't afford anything, but I wanted to see it. Xian nodded. He knew about antiques. It was part of the night watch training, but wasn't a collector. Behind them, Mao Jun chirped. Anything you like, just tell me. I'll buy it for you. Zhou Qianqian frowned and ignored him. Mao Jun scoffed, then tapped Xian on the shoulder. Get up. Switch seats with me. Xian glanced at him, smiled, and turned back around, making no move to comply. Mao Jun gritted his teeth. Just wait until this is over, he thought. A spotlight moved across the stage, illuminating a glamorous woman who walked to the front. She looks familiar, Xian murmured. You don't know her? Zhou Qianqian gasped. That's Qin Shuer, the super-famous TV host. A celebrity, Xian said, uninterested. Qin Shuer smiled at the audience. Welcome to tonight's auction. Let's begin. With no cameras or live stream, she skipped the formalities. She held a gavel in one hand and a microphone in the other. Our first item, an authentic Tang Yin painting, Court Ladies. Two women carried a painting on stage and unrolled it. Xian smirked. No one's verifying its authenticity. The organizers are one of the biggest antique dealers in the country, Mao Jun scoffed from behind. They wouldn't risk their reputation selling fakes. Do you know how much this painting is worth? It's a number you can't even imagine. Consider this an educational experience. So, you saying you wouldn't let Qianqian buy a fake was just hot air? Because everything's authentic. Xian grinned. Mao Jun flushed. Wow, a real Tang Yin, Zhou Qianqian breathed. With this size, it'll go for tens of millions. Do you like it? Xian asked. Any collector would dream of owning a Tang Yin, but it's way out of my league. Qianqian, if you agree to be my girlfriend, I'll buy it for you. I already own a Tang Yin. Think of them as a betrothal gift, a perfect pair. Imagine offered. No, thank you, Zhou Qianqian said wearily. Qin Shuer smiled. Starting bid, 20 million yuan. He Maojun immediately raised his paddle. 22 million. Heads turned. Isn't that Maojun, the young master of Xingyun Jai? Someone murmured. Xingyun Jai was a nationally renowned antique shop with branches even in Jiangxing. Maojun preened at the recognition. 25 million, a cool voice called from the right. Yi Xian saw a slender woman in sunglasses. He couldn't see her face, but she had the air of a beauty. 27 million. Maojun countered. 27 million from Mr. He, number 108, Qin Shuer announced, smiling. Any higher bids? 30 million, the woman said calmly. The bidding continued, escalating quickly. Then, from the front row, Yi Huan said calmly, 50 million. The room fell silent. While a Tang Yin was priceless, given the painting's size, 40-something million was already pushing the limit. No one expected Yi Huan to jump to 50 million. Qin Shuer smiled. 50 million from Mr. Yi, number 3. Any higher bids? Maojun frowned deeply. He hadn't expected such a high price, and competing with Yi Huan would be both expensive and risky. He could match the 50 million, but anything higher was beyond his reach. Yi Xian turned, a smirk playing on his lips. Not bidding anymore? I thought you were going to buy for Qianqian. Only 50 million? Or, are you broke? Maojun glared at him. What's it to you? I can casually throw down 50 million. You? After 9 years in prison. That's probably the biggest number you've ever heard. Do you even have 500 yuan? Why don't you bid? To bid now meant exceeding 50 million. Yi Huan smirked, confident no one would challenge him. Not even Liu Bai or Fong Jun could compete. 50 million going once. 50 million going twice. Qin Shuer announced. Then Yi Xian raised his paddle. 55 million. The room erupted in murmurs as everyone stared at him. When Yi Huan bid 50 million, everyone was shocked. The painting was only estimated to be worth around 40 million. Of course, for wealthy collectors who truly loved the piece, a slight premium was acceptable. So, when Yi Huan reached 50 million, everyone was a little surprised. But now, Yi Xian had actually added another 5 million. Feeling all eyes on him, Yi Xian touched his nose. Up ahead, Yi Huan's expression changed slightly upon hearing the voice. He turned around and, along with the 3 others with him, froze upon seeing Yi Xian. It's this bastard. How can he afford to bid 55 million? Yi Huan snorted coldly and said, looking up, Shuer, how can your auction house let just anyone in? And let anyone bid without checking their finances? This man is Yi Xian. He was in prison for 9 years for rape and was expelled from our Yi family. He was just released, and there's no way he can afford 55 million. Yi Xian was somewhat of a known figure in Linhai. Hearing Yi Huan's words, many people looked over. Maojun sneered. Ha, look at you trying to act tough. Let's see how you get out of this. On stage, the auctioneer frowned. He looked towards the other side where the organizers of the auction were seated. A man in a suit stood up and walked towards Yi Xian. He stopped in front of Yi Xian and asked, Mr. Yi, can you confirm that you have the funds to make this purchase? He can't afford shit. Someone just out of prison. Where would he get that kind of money? He'd struggle to find 5,000, let alone 55 million. He's just trying to show off and drive up the price, probably thinking Yi Huan will bid higher. The man in the suit ignored him and looked at Yi Xian. Yi Xian smiled faintly, considering whether to take out his diamond card. Just then, a powerful voice rang out from the front row. I can vouch for him. Everyone turned to look. The speaker was a one-armed middle-aged man, also sitting in the front row. It was Lei Bin. Yi Xian looked at him in surprise. He hadn't expected Lei Bin to be there. Holy shit, it's Mr. Lei from Hanyu Group. Many people gasped in surprise. Lei Bin was a true titan in Linhai. The man in the suit in front of Yi Xian was stunned for a moment, then quickly said, since Mr. Lei has spoken, we naturally believe it. He bowed to Yi Xian. My apologies. Yi Xian waved his hand. It's fine. Behind him, Maojun was completely dumbfounded. He never thought Yi Xian would know Lei Bin, and that Lei Bin would vouch for him. This meant Yi Xian really could afford it. He swallowed, noticing Yi Xian turn around and look at him with a faint smile. He had just said Yi Xian couldn't afford it, and then Lei Bin came and proved him wrong. It was a slap in the face. Mao Jun shrank his neck, feeling embarrassed, and looked away. Up ahead, Fang Jun and the other three were also stunned. Fang Jun looked at Yi Huan, frowning. How is that bastard connected to Lei Bin? I don't know. Yi Jing'an works for Lei Bin. He probably vouched for him because of Yi Jing'an, Yi Huan said, frowning. Are you going a bit higher? Yi Huan shook his head. It'll be a loss if I go any higher. That bastard is just trying to provoke me. If he really has to pay 55 million, his whole family will be bankrupt. I'll let him have it and see how he gets out of this. After the brief commotion, Yi Xian successfully won the item for 55 million. Yi Huan smirked and turned to Fang Jun. Since Yi Xian is here, call the guys now. We'll take care of him later. Good idea. Fang Jun grinned and left with his phone. The auction continued. After the first major item, the following items were less prestigious. Mao Jun didn't dare say anything more to Yi Xian. After a while, he made an excuse and left. He felt embarrassed that Yi Xian had won something he hadn't. He initially wanted to have Yi Xian beaten up, but after Lei Bin spoke up for him, he didn't dare anymore. Lei Bin was not someone he could afford to offend. Zhou Qianqian and Yi Xian didn't mind, especially Zhou Qianqian, who was glad to see Mao Jun go. Time passed, and the finale arrived, featuring another precious item. This time, it wasn't an antique, but a dazzling diamond pendant called the Desert Star. The diamond was heart-shaped, and the craftsmanship was exquisite. When the light hit it, it was breathtaking. The women in the audience went crazy. Ultimately, Lei Bin won the Desert Star for 150 million. Around 10 p.m., the auction ended. Yi Xian was taken backstage to pay. After paying, he received the authentic Tang Yin painting. Smiling, he handed it to Zhou Qianqian. This is for you. Zhou Qianqian froze, staring at Yi Xian in astonishment. You're giving it to me? Yi Xian nodded. Yes, didn't you like it? Did you buy it because I liked it? Yi Xian shrugged. Yes, why else would I buy it? I don't collect these things. Zhou Qianqian shook her head vigorously. No, it's too expensive. I can't accept it. Yi Xian smiled. You were put in danger because of me last time, and I haven't known how to thank you. And there will be many times I'll need your help in the future, so just accept it without worry. Exactly, Yi Xian's not short on money, just take it. At that moment, Lei Bin walked over with a grin and looked at Yi Xian. Is this your girlfriend? Zhou Qianqian froze, then blushed. He patted Yi Xian's shoulder. Yi Xian, good taste. Yi Xian coughed. Don't say nonsense, she's just a friend. Let me introduce you, Zhou Qianqian, from Xinhai Bank, my account manager. Lei Bin looked disappointed. Yi Xian, you're not young anymore. Even if you've been divorced, don't let the past hold you back. There are plenty of good women out there. I think this Miss Zhou is pretty good. Zhou Qianqian smiled shyly. Her face flushed. Yi Xian coughed and asked, but you not bad, still being romantic with your wife at your age. Romantic my ass. Lei Bin tossed an exquisite box to Yi Xian. My wife and I are old married folks. What use do I have for this? You know how frugal she is. If she knew I spent 150 million on this, she'd break my legs. I bought this for you. Use it to woo some girls. It's a guaranteed win. You better hurry up. Ooh. Yi Xian scratched his head, speechless. Zhou Qianqian wasn't surprised. She knew Yi Xian had a diamond card and a mysterious identity, so she was used to his unusual friends. Yi Xian took the box and coughed. Let's go. The three walked towards the exit. Just as they reached the door, Yi Xian and Lei Bin both paused. They noticed several people at the hotel entrance. Their eyes immediately fixed on them. Yi Xian looked at Lei Bin and said to Zhou Qianqian, Qianqian, you go ahead and drive home. Mr. Lei and I are going for a drink. Zhou Qianqian nodded and said softly, thank you for the gift. I'll treasure it. Yi Xian smiled without saying anything. After Zhou Qianqian drove away, Lei Bin cracked his neck. Looks like you've made quite a few enemies in Linhai. Yi Xian smiled calmly. It's about time I showed these people in Linhai my teeth. It's annoying having everyone try to step on me. He paused. You go ahead first. Laban chuckled. All right. He wasn't worried about Yi Xian's safety. This man was the strongest weapon of the Night Watch. Someone who crawled out of a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. He knew exactly how powerful Yi Xian was. These thugs posed no threat to him. After Lei Bin left, Yi Xian walked to the roadside, pretending to wait for a car. About a minute later, 4 or 5 men approached him, surrounding him. Yi Xian felt a sharp knife against his back. A voice said, Don't yell, don't talk. Come with us. Yi Xian's heart stirred slightly, but he quickly said, Brother, let's talk things out. I'll fully cooperate with you. Screech. Just then, a van stopped in front of them, and the same voice rang out beside Yi Xian again, Get in. Yi Xian obediently got into the van. Several people quickly followed, the knife constantly pressed against his back. One of them sneered, Not bad, kid. You've managed to provoke all the top rich second generations in Linhai. You probably don't even know how you'll die. Yi Xian smiled at them and asked, Who sent you? Don't talk nonsense. You'll know when we get there. The speaker snorted. The van drove on for about 20 minutes before stopping at the entrance of a tennis club. Yi Xian was shoved out of the van. Get in, someone yelled. Yi Xian touched his nose and walked into the tennis club. Seeing Yi Xian's demeanor, one person laughed and said, TSK, pretty gutsy. Not even a bit panicked. After all, he's been in prison for 9 years, another person said with a smirk. He's probably picked up enough soap to last a lifetime. This is small potatoes for him. Ha ha ha. Yi Xian was pushed into a brightly lit tennis court. Yi Huan and Zhang Yu were sitting brazenly on a bench beside the court. Not far away, Liu Bai and Fang Jun were playing tennis. In addition, there were a dozen other people, each holding baseball bats, steel pipes, and the like. Seeing Yi Xian arrive, Fang Jun and Liu Bai put down their rackets. Yi Xian was pushed onto the court, and the group surrounded him. Fang Jun wiped his sweat and stood up. Liu Bai and Zhang Yu also stood up and walked into the circle, looking at Yi Xian with a smirk. Zhang Yu sized Yi Xian up and down, sneering, not batting an eye, as expected of someone who's done 9 years. He then sighed and said, I told you my last name is Zhang. Arrogant Zhang. Remember it now. Yi Xian glanced at him, then swept his gaze across Yi Huan and the others, touching his nose. You. Just as he spoke, Fang Jun stepped forward and interrupted Yi Xian. Do you have the right to stand and talk to us? Kneel down first, and then we'll slowly play with you. Yi Xian frowned. Zhang Yu stepped forward. Brother Jun told you to kneel. Didn't you hear? Yi Xian looked at him and said indifferently, You're a prompt little eunuch, aren't you? What the fuck did you say? Yi Xian touched his nose, his gaze slowly sweeping over Yi Huan, Fang Jun, and Liu Bai. So, you called me here today to beat me up? Beat you up? Fang Jun walked up to Yi Xian and stood in front of him. We're not just going to beat you up. We're going to humiliate you. Beside him, Yi Huan also said indifferently, I warned you. After returning to Linhai, be honest, but you actually dared to provoke me again and again. My hand is still injured because of you. Your worthless life can't even compensate for it. Liu Bai didn't speak. He took a step forward, smiled at Yi Xian, then suddenly raised his tennis racket and smashed it hard against Yi Xian's leg. Kneel down first, then talk to us. A cold glint flashed in Yi Xian's eyes. He suddenly reached out, grabbed Liu Bai's head, and slammed it hard against the ground. Liu Bai felt a powerful force, and he was completely unable to resist. As his arm swung out with force, he lost his balance. His racket actually hit Fang Jun, who was standing next to him. Whack! Thud! 2 sounds rang out in succession. Fang Jun's leg was hit, and he winced in pain. Liu Bai's head, held by Yi Xian, slammed hard against the ground. The impact left Liu Bai dazed and disoriented, letting out a series of screams. Ah! Liu Bai's screams startled everyone. None of them expected that Yi Xian, facing so many of them, would dare to fight back, and in such a short time, he had pinned Liu Bai to the ground. You fucking dare to fight back. Fang Jun, ignoring the pain, turned to glare at Yi Xian. The group surrounding Yi Xian also moved towards him, some pointing steel pipes at him and cursing. Beside them, the corners of Yi Huan and Zhang Yu's mouths twitched. Just watching Liu Bai get hit made them wince. They could only imagine how much pain he was in now. Facing this situation, Yi Xian, who was squatting on the ground, stood up with a smile. He then placed his foot on Liu Bai's face and looked at Fang Jun with a smirk. "Get your foot off him. Liu Bai is the old master of the Liu family's grandson. You dare to touch him? You don't want to live anymore. Let him go." Zhang Yu grabbed a baseball bat from someone nearby and rushed towards Yi Xian, swinging at him. Crack! Just then, Yi Xian grabbed the baseball bat. Zhang Yu was stunned. In that instant, Yi Xian's wrist suddenly exerted force. The next moment, the head of the baseball bat shattered, turning into a pile of wood chips. Zhang Yu was terrified. He instinctively released the bat and stumbled back several steps, looking at Yi Xian in horror. None of the people surrounding them dared to take another step forward. Yi Huan and Fang Jun stared at Yi Xian with their mouths agape, in disbelief. How much strength would it take to crush a baseball bat like that? Yi Xian blew the wood chips off his hand and clapped. Sigh, the quality of this baseball bat is really poor. It broke with just a squeeze. Then, under everyone's horrified gazes, Yi Xian walked up to Yi Huan and Fang Jun with a smile. He raised his hand. Slap, slap, slap. 3 consecutive slaps landed directly on their faces. This snapped Fang Jun and Yi Huan back to reality. They were furious. This abandoned son of the Yi family, a man who had been in prison for 9 years, actually dared to slap them. Yi Huan's face darkened. "Yi Xian, you dare to lay a hand on me?" Yi Xian chuckled and said indifferently, "If it weren't for your rich parents, what would you be? Enjoy your money and don't provoke me. I don't cause trouble, but if you bring it to me, don't blame me for being impolite. This slap is a lesson." He then shrugged. "Anyway, I've got nothing to lose. If you continue to target me, feel free. I guarantee you'll end up much worse than Liu Bai." There were more than a dozen people holding baseball bats and steel pipes, but at this moment, no one dared to move. Suddenly, Fang Jun's eyes flickered as he looked at Yi Xian's left hand. In Yi Xian's left hand, he held the box containing the Desert Eagle that Lei Bin had given him. This was the box containing the Desert Star. Everyone had seen it clearly at the auction. Lei Bin, CEO of Hanyu Group, had bought it for 150 million. In Linhai, no one wanted to cross Lei Bin. Hanyu Group was a massive corporation, one of the top companies nationwide. Even the prestigious Yi family had to be cautious, especially since Hanyu Group was constantly competing with them and often winning. Their capital and backing were formidable. No one in Linhai wanted to provoke Lei Bin. So when Fang Jun saw the Desert Star, which Lei Bin had just purchased, in Yi Xian's hands, his pupils shrank. "How did you get the Desert Star?" "This, mister. Lei asked me to take it back for him." "What's wrong?" Yi Huan's face also changed slightly. They had to reconsider the relationship between Yi Xian and Lei Bin. From Lei Bin speaking up for Yi Xian at the auction to now entrusting him with the Desert Star, everything pointed to an unusually close connection. Yi Xian glanced at Yi Huan, then at Fang Jun. Turning to the bloodied Liu Bai on the ground, he said calmly, "Remember, don't mess with me again." He walked towards the exit of the tennis club. None of the 20 or so men dared to speak. Firstly, Fang Jun hadn't given them the order to attack. Secondly, Yang Hao had terrified them by crushing the baseball bat with his bare hands. They watched Yi Xian swagger out. Only after he left did they rush to help Liu Bai, who was lying in a pool of blood. "Get Liu Bai to the hospital." His face was a grim mask, swollen with the imprint of Yi Xian's hand. Yi Huan and Zhang Yu were in a similar state. "How is Yi Xian so close to Lei Bin? Even my father is wary of him. This isn't good. What are you going to do?" Yi Huan's expression flickered. Twice now, he'd been humiliated by Yi Xian. He couldn't quite figure him out. A recently released ex-con, acquainted with Chun Meixian, and now inexplicably connected to Lei Bin. The slap he'd received was the greatest humiliation of his life. He couldn't bear it, but he also wasn't sure how to deal with Yi Xian. He gritted his teeth. Let's wait and see what Lu Bai says. Fong Jun nodded slowly. Lu Bai wouldn't let this go. Their own families feared a confrontation with Hanyu Group, worried about the potential losses. But the Lu family was different. Lu Yunshan, with his new C Bank diamond card, could control billions. Lu Bai wouldn't let this humiliation stand. Oblivious to their plotting, Yi Xian didn't go straight home. He took a cab to the riverside. He'd promised to deliver Wu Yao to the night watch. Wu Yao was waiting with 2 suitcases. Seeing Yi Xian, he grinned. "You're personally escorting me?" "No, someone's coming to get you," Yi Xian said. That someone was Qin Guosheng. Joining the night watch was a process. Wu Yao would go to a temporary base with Qin Guosheng, then to boot camp before finally being assigned. Around 11 p.m., an SUV pulled up. Qin Guosheng and the crew cut Chi Huayu jumped out. Chi Huayu rushed over and hugged Yi Xian tightly. "Brother!" Yi Xian returned the embrace. They'd been in the same recruit class and the same squad. They were close, but Chi Huayu hadn't been able to keep up with Yi Xian and Huang Shiqi's progress. They had become elite operatives, while he remained in the squad. Chi Huayu released Yi Xian, grinning. "Yi Xian, not bad. Your ex-wife is pretty. Just a bit materialistic." Yi Xian felt a twinge of embarrassment. He knew he'd be the subject of gossip within the night watch. Qin Guosheng looked at Wu Yao. "This is the kid you want in the night watch." Wu Yao raised an eyebrow. "I'm Wu Yao, but you can call me 5 of Hearts." 5 of Hearts? Number 5 on the underground assassin list? Yi Xian only knew the list from 3 years ago. Wu Yao's alias was new to him. Wu Yao dramatically tossed his hair. "That's right. The showman of the underground assassin list leaves a 5 of Hearts playing card on everybody." Yi Xian looked at Wu Yao in surprise. Wu Yao coughed. "Gotta have some flair. All right, get in. Let's go for a ride to the night watch." Wu Yao looked at Yi Xian, who smiled. "Go. Don't disappoint your mentor." After Wu Yao left, Yi Xian took a deep breath and headed home. Meanwhile, at the Linhai airport, a man in a trench coat, sunglasses, and a mask stepped off a plane. He was tall and imposing, flanked by 2 beautiful, stern-faced women. He looked like a tycoon with his personal assistants, attracting curious stares. "Whoa, is that a celebrity?" "No idea. Some big shot, maybe." He ignored the attention, striding through the crowd. Outside, Yiheng greeted him with a smile and a gesture towards a waiting car. They got into a black sedan. Yiheng sat in the front and handed a photo to the man in the back. "He's the target?" "Yes. I'm expensive. And you need to introduce me to Chen Meixian." Yiheng smiled. "Of course. A divorced woman like Chen Meixian won't be able to resist your charms." Back home, Yi Jing sighed in relief as Yi Xian walked in. "What were you doing with Bai Xian?" "I'm warning you again. She's a married woman." Yi Xian rolled his eyes. "Dad, what are you thinking?" Bai Xian also thinks something's off about what happened 9 years ago. "We just talked. She offered to help if I need it while I investigate." "Really? Would I lie?" His parents relaxed. Chaoyan then said, "By the way, you have a blind date tomorrow." Yi Xian paused. "Wasn't the one my uncle introduced unwilling to meet me? This one's from your aunt. You got Liu a good job, and this is their way of thanking you. Your aunt said she'll keep setting you up until you find a girlfriend." Yi Xian was stunned. "Mom, I have a girlfriend." "Mom, I have a girlfriend," Yi Xian said. His mother's threat to keep setting him up had truly frightened him. "I'll believe that when I see it. Unless you bring her home to meet us, I won't believe you. Go on this date tomorrow. You might hit it off." Yi Xian was speechless. He reluctantly agreed. Back in his room, he muttered, "Damn it. I pretended to be Zhou Cixi and Jiang Wenyuan's boyfriend so many times. Now I need them to return the favor. I have to convince my parents somehow." He lay down. Soon his phone buzzed. It was a video call from Red Rose. Frowning, he answered. A stunning figure filled the screen. Red Rose was wearing very little. Her near-perfect body made Yi Xian's blood rush. "Like what you see? If you do, come over and experience it firsthand. It's quite delightful," she purred. Yi Xian quickly composed himself. "Get to the point." No fun. But I like it." Yi Xian was speechless. She was a total psycho. Fine, down to business. Zhua Hao is in Linhai. Zhua Hao. The name triggered a memory. Zhua Hao, known as the Windwalker, was number 4 on the underground assassin list. Flamboyant. He always wore a black trench coat and was accompanied by 2 beautiful twin women, both skilled Red Lotus assassins. He outranks me. I'm probably losing my command here. What's their objective? 2 things: an assassination contract in Linhai, and taking control of Huanyu Group. What? Yi Xian's expression sharpened. Huanyu Group? Red Lotus was targeting Chen Meixian? By the way, Zhua Hao has a lot of charm. He'll probably try to seduce Chen Meixian himself. A lonely, divorced woman like her will find him hard to resist. Even I can hardly resist him. Too bad, I rarely see him. Yi Xian coughed. All right, I understand. Keep an eye on his movements and location. I'll handle it. Ah, you don't want to see me? Even if you don't in person, how about we continue this video call? It can be quite enjoyable. She struck a provocative pose. Damn. Yi Xian felt his blood boil. He quickly ended the call and rushed to the bathroom for a cold shower. The next day, Yi Xian went to work with his father as usual. At Hanyu Group, he made an excuse and slipped away to Zhou Cici's apartment for a nap. Zhang Wanyuan woke him up. Where's Qin Xiaowei? Yi Xian asked, looking around. No idea. She's been secretive lately, running out every morning and coming back late at night. Zhang Wanyuan shrugged. Yi Xian figured Qin Xiaowei was undergoing the night watch evaluation he'd suggested to Zhichuyu. He looked at Zhang Wanyuan, considering his fake girlfriend dilemma. He studied her. My parents wouldn't object to someone like her, he thought. Zhang Wanyuan noticed his gaze. What are you looking at? Yi Xian coughed. Wanyuan, look, I pretended to be your boyfriend, treated you to meals, and even spent a fortune to get rid of that Wang Yao. What do you want? You're not expecting payment in kind, are you? She clutched her clothes tighter. No way. I'm not that kind of guy. Yi Xian said quickly. Like how you're not? You were practically drooling over Xiaowei the other day. She retorted. Yi Xian sighed. Fine, I'll be honest. My parents are constantly trying to set me up on dates. I have another one tonight. If I don't convince them I have a girlfriend, this will never end. Zhang Wanyuan burst out laughing. Blind dates are great. You might meet someone nice. If she was nice, she'd have tons of suitors already. She wouldn't need a blind date. So, would you maybe pretend to be my girlfriend? Just meet my parents? Zhang Wanyuan paused, then smiled. I might. If you treat me well enough, I might just go with you. Absolutely. Any restaurant in Linhai your pick. You said it. Let's go to Rongwa restaurant. Their food is amazing. I heard their chef is Master Su's senior. Master Su was the chef whose arm Zhichuyu had healed. Yi Xian hadn't realized the Rongwa chef had that connection. No problem. He agreed. Of course, it was no problem. He had the Rongwa black card for free meals. They left for the restaurant. After lunch and an afternoon at the internet cafe, Yi Xian said, You go hang out with Bai Yao and the others. I have to deal with this blind date. Zhang Wanyuan grinned. Maybe I should come with you. I want to see what a blind date is like. No way. If you take pictures or something, I'm doomed. He sent her off in a cab and then took another to the designated cafe. As he arrived, his mother called. Yi Xian, are you there yet? At the entrance. Table 7. She's wearing a white dress. Behave yourself. I saw her picture. She seems nice. Works at Huanyu Group. Your aunt says she has a good personality. Mom, I got it, Yi Xian said, hanging up. He scanned the cafe and walked in with a sigh. He found table 7 by the window. A girl in a white dress sat with her back to him. Her long hair obscured her face, but her figure seemed all right. He approached and asked, Missing Shurdan? He finally saw her face. Average, a 5 out of 10. Nowhere near the level of Zhang Wanyuan or Zhou Cici. Shurdan looked up, frowning at his clothes. You're 13 minutes late. Yi Xian was taken aback. The time was 6. It's only 5:50. I thought I was on time. It's rude to make a girl wait. Sit down. She seemed very experienced with blind dates. After he sat, she assessed him. Your outfit is underwhelming. You'll need to improve that if you want to be with me. Yi Xian was speechless. She continued. Aunt Chow said you were in prison. Just got out? What for? What do you do now? Hearing her questions, Yi Xian felt awkward. He'd come to go through the motions, not to genuinely find a partner. He hadn't expected In Dan to be so direct. Still, he decided to play along, hoping she'd find him unsuitable. He coughed. Well, yeah, there was that incident. As for work, I'm currently unemployed. Unemployed? In Dan frowned. But your father is the vice president of Hanyu Group? Yes, but he doesn't have much authority. Just a regular salary, Yi Xian replied. As expected, In Shiden's frown deepened, and a look of disdain flashed in her eyes. Did your parents buy you an apartment? What are your career plans? She asked. I have a very refined lifestyle. If this works out, I'm definitely not living with your parents. No, I live with them. No career plans yet. I don't really need to work, Yi Xian answered honestly. In Dan laughed. Seriously, you meet all sorts of weirdos on blind dates? You're something else. 9 years in prison, unemployed, a father with a fancy title but no real power. She scoffed, her eyes full of arrogance. Do you even know what I do? I heard you work at Huanyu Group. I know your CEO, Chen Meixian, Yi Xian said. Right. Now you're a braggart too, In Dan said dismissively. How would you know our CEO? You have terrible taste, you're low class, an ex-con. Aunt Chow wasted my time. I thought since your father was a VP, you might have some prospects even with the prison record. But he's just a figurehead. She sneered. What a waste of time. Yi Xian inwardly rejoiced. Clearly, she wasn't interested. He smiled. You're smiling? In Dan seemed offended. How can you even show your face on a blind date? Well, since you're not interested, let's just end this, Yi Xian said quickly. At least you have some self-awareness. You're truly bottom of the barrel. I'm embarrassed to be seen at the same table with you. She grabbed her purse and stood. You're paying. Yi Xian chuckled and paid the bill after she left. As he did, a voice chirped, rejected, huh? He turned to see Jiang Wanyuan grinning at him from a nearby table, phone in hand. What are you doing here? He asked, exasperated. Curious. Wanted to see what a blind date was like, she giggled. Boring. That girl is so materialistic, going on about her refined lifestyle. So shallow. I would have flashed my new C-Bank diamond card in her face. Yi Xian smiled. No need. I was just going through the motions. Her rejecting me is perfect. It would have been a problem if she liked me. They left the cafe and went their separate ways. In a taxi, In Dan fumed. She felt Chow Rong had insulted her by setting her up with such a loser. She angrily called Chow Rong. Hello. Chow Rong answered. Dandan, how did it go? Are you happy? Happy? Aunt Chow. Do you think I have such low standards? You set me up with an ex-con who is nothing. No house, no car, no job. Do you think I deserve someone like that? Chow Rong was taken aback. That's what Yi Xian told you? That boy. Don't bother setting me up anymore. In Dan snapped. Dan, it's not like that. Yi Xian did time, but he has a job now. He works at Hanyu Group as CEO Lei Bin's assistant. They're close. He got Liu Yu a job with just one phone call. Liu Yu's job was through him. In Dan asked, surprised. Yes, and he's also close with Chen Meixian, your CEO. I thought if you two hit it off, it would help your career. I would never set you up with just anyone. Even if his father's job is just a title, he still makes millions. In Dan was stunned. She thought back to Yi Xian and her own behavior. He had mentioned knowing Chen Meixian, but she hadn't believed him. He seemed like a total loser. But now... Aunt Chow, you're not lying? She asked. Why would I lie? You can ask around. How else do you think Liu Yu got that high-paying job? Chow Rong said, a hint of pride in her voice. In Dan cringed, remembering her attitude. After a moment, she said, Aunt Chow, can you set up another meeting? I want to talk to him again. Of course, Chow Rong replied eagerly. Meanwhile, Yi Xian arrived at his apartment complex. At the entrance, he noticed 2 stunning women in tight skirts that showcased their long legs. One wore black, the other white. Their identical faces and perfect figures would turn any man's head. They stood chatting, seemingly waiting for a ride. Wow, twin beauties, Yi Xian thought. They glanced at him briefly before looking away. Suddenly, a voice called out, "EX." He turned to see Zhua Hao getting out of a car, carrying 2 gift boxes. He looked exhausted, with dark circles under his eyes. "EX," he pleaded, "please accept this. I was wrong. Please have mercy. I can't take it anymore. My company is on the verge of bankruptcy." Looking at Zhua Hao's pleading face, EXIN felt no sympathy. The man was disgusting. He'd feigned interest in Lu Yu, only to use her to connect with Yi Jingyan and secure investment from Hanyu Group. Then he dumped her. He even had a girlfriend all along. If his game project hadn't been so terrible, he would have succeeded. Yi Xin had no pity for him. "Mercy," Yi Xin smirked. "Did you think about that when you were doing those disgusting things? And stay away from my family, or you'll regret it." Zhua Hao gritted his teeth. "I made a mistake, but I gave Lu Yu and her family real benefits. Do you have to be so ruthless?" Yi Xin chuckled, ignoring him, brushing past Zhua Hao and walking into the complex. Zhua Hao crouched down, his face a mask of despair. He hadn't expected Hanyu Group to stand up for Yi Xin. The company he'd spent years building was now on the brink of collapse. Nearby, the twins watched the scene unfold like a play. Their gazes towards Yi Xin held a hint of coldness, but mostly amusement. They were Zhua Hao's associates, here to scout the location Yi Hong had provided. They wanted to confirm Yi Xin's address, observe, and perhaps make casual contact. The woman in black smiled and made a call. "Boss," she said, her voice melodious. "Well?" A magnetic voice answered. "We saw him," she reported. "He had a little argument, but didn't show anything unusual." "He didn't notice us?" Yi Hung said he could beat a dozen thugs without a scratch. This information had come from Bai Qi, whose family was desperately grasping at straws. Zhua Hao chuckled. "That's nothing. Any blue-rank assassin in Red Lotus can do that. He's probably just naturally strong. Try to run into him again tomorrow. Get his WeChat and lure him out. 2 of you should be able to manage that, right?" "No man can resist us," she purred. "Especially not both of us. Take care of him quickly. This is just a side job. Our main target is Chun Meixian," Zhua Hao said. "Why wait?" she suggested. "I can invite him for a drink now and finish it." Zhua Hao considered it. "All right." As EXIN approached his building, a sweet voice called out, "Hey, handsome." He turned to see the twins standing nearby. The woman in black stepped forward. "Can we get your WeChat?" She moved closer, her long legs enticing, a sweet fragrance filling the air. "Yeah, we're looking for a handsome guy to buy us a drink. Or, if you're interested, we can spend the night with you. Just 10,000 yuan. A blush colored her cheeks. Yi Xin's heart pounded. "Are they prostitutes? Twins for only 10,000? Such stunning women. No man could resist this. I'd take out a loan if I had to." He was definitely not immune to the temptation. He coughed. "I don't mind the drinks, but I'm mainly interested in spending some money." The woman in black smiled. "Eager, aren't you?" "Sure." The woman in white joined them, taking his arm. "Let's go to our apartment. It's safer there." Yi Xin allowed himself to be led to a taxi. The twins sandwiched him in the back, each holding an arm. He was in bliss. The driver looked on with envy. "Can you pay up front?" the woman in black asked. Yi Xin coughed. "Afterward." "Cheapskate," the woman in white huffed. Undeterred, Yi Xin asked excitedly, "So, what are your names?" "I'm Lon Lon," the woman in black replied. "This is my sister, Xin Xin." "Beautiful names," Yi Xin said, then glanced at the driver. "You're so beautiful. Why do you?" Lon Lon didn't seem to care about the driver. "It's quick money. We're not from here. Back home, no one will know. We can still find husbands later." The driver, visibly aroused, kept glancing at them through the rearview mirror, his driving becoming erratic. Yi Xin chatted with them, occasionally stealing a touch, as they drove for 40 minutes towards the outskirts of Linhai. "It's so far," Yi Xin remarked. "Safer out here," Lon Lon explained. "The city is dangerous. By the way, you have to pay the fare. Our clients usually do." "Of course." Yi Xin paid generously. They got out. The area was sparsely populated and dimly lit. "It's over there," Xin Xin pointed to a lit-up old apartment building. "Let's go," Yi Xin said eagerly. The twins each held an arm as Hilo to their waists. Don't be so impatient, Lon Lon purred, swaying her hips. Once we're inside, you can do whatever you want. As they walked, the light grew dimmer. Xin noticed a white sedan parked ahead. As they got closer, he stopped about 20 meters away and smiled towards the car. You've been watching us long enough. Time to come out. The twins looked at him, puzzled. The car door opened, and a man in a black trench coat stepped out, clapping. Impressive. You spotted me. I underestimated you. He walked to the front of the car, lit a cigarette, took a drag, and exhaled a smoke ring. He looked at Xin. Even in the dim light, Xin recognized him. Zhuahao, number 4 on the underground assassin list. So calm, Zhuahao remarked. Let go of those women. They're not for you. Do it, and I'll give you a quick death. The twins smiled at Xin, making no attempt to break free. Xin shrugged, tightening his grip on their waists. He smiled. What if I don't? What if I don't? Xin grinned. We agreed on a price. 10,000 for the night. I intend to get my money's worth. If you want them, get in line. Come back tomorrow. Zhuahao. And even the twins were momentarily stunned. Then the women giggled. Zhuahao held his cigarette, looking at Xin. Ignorance is bliss. He shook his head. You think beating up a few thugs makes you tough. Pity. Xin continued to smile. You have 1 cigarette's time to say your last words. Choose your method of death, Zhuahao said with a smirk. Death? Xin frowned. Someone hired you to kill me? Now you figure it out? Zhuahao scoffed. Someone offered 15 million. I don't think your life is worth that much, but I'll take the job. You have half a cigarette's time now. Number 4 on the underground assassin list, Windwalker Zhuahao, right? Xin asked. All 3 of them froze again. Zhuahao lowered his cigarette, his expression changing. You know the underworld? Did you learn that in prison? Xin ignored the question. Now it's my turn. Who hired you? Tell me, and I'll make it quick. Zhuahao's eyes flashed with anger. Lon Lon, sensing something amiss, gulped. When did you figure it out? Who are you? Xin smiled, his hand still on her waist. No man could refuse an offer like this from women like you. But you missed something. You're too beautiful, twins even. If you were really in it for the money, you'd have rich sponsors. You wouldn't need to solicit on the streets. And Zhuahao always travels with twin beauties. Not hard to put 2 and 2 together, Xin continued. So, I'm just curious who wants me dead. Lu Bai? Yi Huan? Zhuahao chuckled. You're very calm, knowing who I am. Want to know who hired me? I'll tell you just before you die. He flicked his cigarette but towards Xin, a display of impressive force over 20 meters. Xin swatted each woman's bottom. Don't interfere. I'll pay you when I get back. He lunged forward with explosive speed, reaching Zhuahao in an instant and throwing a punch. Fast. Zhuahao barely dodged. The punch hit the car, denting the metal and sending the vehicle sideways. Super. Zhuahao gasped, sweat beading on his forehead. He reached for his knife. Before he could draw it, Xin slammed into him, lifting him off the ground. Zhuahao landed with a thud and a cry of pain. He rolled, finally drawing his knife. Help, he shouted to the twins. Conflict flickered across their faces. Zhuahao's use of the word super had terrified them. They knew what it meant within Red Lotus. If I were you, I wouldn't, a sweet voice said. A figure in a red dress approached. Red Rose. Zhuahao groaned, still on the ground. You know him? What's going on? We're friends. This is a misunderstanding. I can tell you who hired me. Xin narrowed his eyes. Oh, Yi Heng. Yi Heng of the Linhai Yi family, Zhuahao blurted out. Xin wasn't entirely surprised. Yi Heng wanted him dead to bury the truth about 9 years ago. So it's him, Xin mused. Zhuahao sighed in relief. We're both from Red Lotus. We're friends. Friends? Xin's eyes narrowed. Everyone in Red Lotus should die. He started walking towards Zhuahao. Zhuahao's face paled. I told you who hired me. Did I say I'd let you go? Xin sneered. Red Rose giggled. Oh, Zhuahao, you don't know who he is, do you? Terror filled Zhuahao's heart. Who? Who are you? He stammered. He's Night Watch 0. The one who disappeared 3 years ago, Red Rose said, laughing. Zhua Hao stumbled back, coughing up blood, staring at Xian in disbelief. The twins' eyes widened. Night Watch Zero. They were horrified. They'd thought he was just a strong nobody. Now they learned he was the legendary Zero. They wouldn't have taken the job for one. 5 billion, let alone 15 million. Zhua Hao trembled, giving up resistance. You're working with Night Watch Zero? The leader won't spare you. He's too scared to show his face. Why should I be afraid? Red Rose laughed. I wish you would come out. My dear Yi Xian wants to kill him so badly. Yi Xian shuddered at her words. Zhua Hao's face was ashen. How can I survive this? Survive? Yi Xian frowned. Then an idea struck him. Depends on my mood. Take me to Yi Heng. Zhua Hao didn't hesitate. Yi Xian walked over to the terrified twins, putting an arm around each of their waists. You're coming too. They stiffened, but didn't resist. Red Rose smiled. I'll take my leave then. Yi Xian nodded and led the women to the car. Zhua Hao drove, pale-faced. Yi Xian sent a message to Qin Guosheng. A big gift for you at the same place we met yesterday. He intended to hand Zhua Hao over to the Night Watch. Someone of his rank must have valuable information. 30 minutes later, they arrived at a villa. Zhua Hao, his face white, made a call. I'll tell him to come down. He got out of the car and waited. Soon, the villa door opened, and Yi Heng, in a robe, stepped out, his face lighting up. Done. Zhua Hao's expression remained grim. Did you clean up? Yi Heng asked. The car window rolled down. Yi Xian grinned. What do you think? Yi Heng's face went white. Zhua Hao slapped him. You're trying to get me killed. Yi Heng, a mere civilian, reeled from the force of Zhua Hao's slap, spinning before landing hard on the ground. Blood and 2 broken teeth flew from his mouth. He stared up in shock, clutching his face. You sent me to kill him? Do you know who he is? Damn you. Zhua Hao's fury grew with each passing moment. Yi Heng was the source of his predicament. He had no idea what Yi Xian would do to him. He wanted to kill Yi Heng right there. Yi Heng was utterly bewildered. What's happening? Didn't Zhua Hao go to kill Yi Xian? Why is Yi Xian fine and Zhua Hao attacking me? What did he mean about getting him killed? He couldn't process the situation. Zhua Hao was about to deliver more kicks when Yi Xian stopped him. That's enough. You'll kill him. Right. Zhua Hao said quickly. Yi Heng sat on the ground, clutching his face, still stunned. He knew the underworld and who Zhua Hao was. Number 4 on the assassin list. Why was he so deferential to Yi Xian? Drag him inside, Yi Xian said calmly. They hauled Yi Heng into the villa. He lived alone. Zhua Hao threw him onto the sofa. Yi Xian sat down as well. Yi Heng swallowed hard. You know each other? He asked, then shook his head. If they knew each other, Zhua Hao wouldn't have taken the job. Do you have any idea who he is? You sent me to kill him. You have a death wish. Zhua Hao roared, slapping Yi Heng again. Fear washed over Yi Heng. He knew what kind of people inhabited the underworld. Ruthless killers. Disappointed? Yi Xian asked him calmly. What? What have you been doing these past 9 years? Yi Heng stammered, staring at Yi Xian in disbelief. He looked down on Yi Xian, believing him powerless. Now, seeing Yi Xian unharmed and Zhua Hao acting so submissively, he realized how wrong he'd been. What I did is none of your business. Tell me about 9 years ago, Yi Xian said. Yi Heng hesitated. Zhua Hao, without a word, pulled out his knife and stabbed Yi Heng in the leg. Yi Heng's eyes bulged with pain. He struggled, but Zhua Hao covered his mouth, muffling his screams. After a minute or two, Zhua Hao released him. Answer the questions, or next time I'll cut your throat. All traces of Yi Heng's earlier arrogance were gone, replaced by pure terror. He couldn't understand Yi Xian at all. I'll talk, he whimpered. Yi Xian looked at him impassively. We framed you 9 years ago, Yi Heng confessed. Your father was too successful. His company was competing with the Zhou and Bai families. I was competing with him for control of Qinyu, he explained, referring to the Yi family's clothing company. Your father's company was outperforming mine. Elder Yi Yongsheng wanted to keep him in the family, so he planned to make you both direct descendants and give him 3% of the shares. Yi Xin was surprised. He hadn't known about this plan, which was apparently never implemented. But those shares had to come from Yi Zhongheng, who held the most. He agreed, but he didn't want to give up the shares. Your father was competing for two major projects, so Yi Zhongheng contacted his rivals and they set you up. Yi Heng continued. I benefited directly, so I helped. I disguised myself as you and took Bai Xian to the hotel. Yi Xian frowned. He and Yi Heng did have a similar build, and skilled makeup artists could work wonders. This explained the security footage, which had always puzzled him. He'd been unconscious, yet the footage showed him taking Bai Xian to the room. Who drugged my drink? Yi Xian asked coldly. Ye Jichen, Ye Heng said. You were sitting next to him. He switched your glasses and drugged yours. What about Bai Xian? After you were unconscious, we used your phone to call her out, then drugged and kidnapped her, Yi Heng explained. We knew the Bai family wouldn't let something like that go. So, the Yi family made a deal with them, giving them benefits. They backed off. But for the next 9 years, Yi Zhongheng held a grudge and targeted their business. They lost everything they gained and are now barely surviving, Yi Heng said cautiously. After you went to prison and your family was disowned, Yi Zhongheng, fearing your father's return, suppressed him at every turn. Elder Yi even asked Lei Bin to fire him, but Lei Bin refused, Yi Heng finished. Now Yi Xian understood. He hadn't realized Yi Zhongheng was the mastermind behind it all. No wonder Yi Zhongheng didn't want him investigating. Yi Heng looked at him nervously. Yi Xian, that was 9 years ago. Now, I'm going to destroy the Yi family, Yi Xian said, his eyes cold. When is their annual meeting? Next weekend, Yi Heng replied quickly. Next weekend, you'll come with me and expose the truth. If you don't, you're dead, Yi Xian stated. Yi Heng's face fell. You deaf? Zhua Hao snarled. I'll go. Yi Heng said hastily. Yi Xian stood up. Drag him to the car. Zhua Hao complied. Yi Xian, he said nervously. I cooperated. Can I go now? You can have the car. Drive, Yi Xian said, glancing at him. Or die. Yi Heng trembled. The fourth-ranked assassin was terrified of Yi Xian. Who is this man? He wondered, recalling Yi Xian's threat to destroy the Yi family. Yi Xian and the twins sat in the back. He was in a good mood. The truth was finally out. Now he just had to make it public. At the meeting place, Qin Guosheng and Qi Huayu stared in surprise as he arrived with his entourage. Qin Guosheng's eyes widened when he saw Zhua Hao. Damn, you caught him. Zhua Hao's face paled. He knew these were night watch. It's over, he thought. He wanted to run, but he didn't dare with Yi Xian there. He'd wait for Yi Xian to leave. Qi Huayu stared at the twins, practically drooling. Lucky bastard, he muttered, kicking Zhua Hao. Who's this? Qin Guosheng asked, pointing to the terrified Yi Heng. The man who framed me 9 years ago. Take them all? Bring him back next weekend, Yi Xian said, indicating Yi Heng. Qin Guosheng nodded. Yi Xian, you should come back with us. Those 3 women won't leave. Yi Xian frowned. He knew Qin Guosheng meant Lin Qingxue and her parents. You haven't dealt with them yet, he asked. Can't. Qi Huayu grumbled. Your mother-in-law is throwing tantrums, and your ex-wife keeps saying she wants you back, or she won't leave. By the river, Qi Huayu and Qin Guosheng threw up their hands. You need to talk to them, Qin Guosheng said. They won't listen to us. If they get out and reveal the Night Watch's existence, it'll be a problem. Yi Xian considered this, then sneered. Let them stay with the Night Watch. They just want money. You're loaded. Give them a few million for their silence, Qin Guosheng said, exasperated. I'll even pay if you won't. How far is your base from here? Yi Xian asked. 2 hours by car, Qin Guosheng replied. We're just patrolling this area. Yi Xian realized a round trip would take 4 hours, getting him home past midnight. Living with his parents, he couldn't stay out too late. I'll visit your base tomorrow. Send me the address. Okay, Qin Guosheng agreed, then grinned at Zhua Hao and the others. A chill went down Zhua Hao's spine. What are you going to do? Qi Huayu slammed him on the head. Zhua Hao crumpled to the ground, unconscious. He's dangerous. Easier to control him this way, Qin Guosheng explained. See you tomorrow. Call when you arrive. I don't want those guys causing trouble if they don't recognize you. Yi Xian nodded. After they left with their captives, he took a cab home, chatting with Huang Shiqi on the phone. He arrived home around 9 p.m. His parents were watching TV. They glared at him. What happened to the blind date? You told the girl you have no house, no car, no job. Chaoyan demanded. Yi Xian, you're not young anymore. People think you're damaged goods after being in prison. We can't be picky. You're father, and I want grandchildren. Yi Xian sighed. She wasn't right for me. She was shallow and condescending. I didn't like her, and she didn't like me. And I really do have a girlfriend. You've only been back a few days. Chao Yun exclaimed. Where would you have a girlfriend? She's from Jiangcheng. I spent 3 years there, remember? I'll bring her to meet you soon, Yi Xian said. His parents exchanged skeptical glances. Really? Yi Jing'an asked. Yes, really, Yi Xian insisted. She's coming to Linhai soon. I'll probably move out then. He loved his parents, but living with them made things complicated. Operating at night, for example, was difficult. As long as you bring home a wife, you can live wherever you want, Yi Jing'an said. Yi Xian wiped his brow. Parents were all the same. Zhang Jinan was desperate to marry off Jiang Wanyuan, and his own parents were no different. Relieved to have appeased them, he went to bed. The next morning, he called Jiang Wei. He wanted Jiang Wei to get acquainted with the night watch, perhaps even join now, giving him time to develop before Yi Xian and Tu returned. They would inevitably rejoin the night watch. They would need a strong, elite team, and Jiang Wei needed training. They met. Jiang Wei arrived in a new car, purchased with the 5 million. He bought a bigger house for his family too. He was the family's success story, the envy of his relatives. His ex-girlfriend kept trying to get back together, but he'd rejected her. He'd been too hurt. Taking me to meet the mysterious organization? Jiang Wei grinned as Yi Xian got in the car. Just a base, Yi Xian said. If you join, tell your family you have a work assignment out of town. No problem, Jiang Wei replied. Be sure about this, Yi Xian cautioned. It'll be very hard at first, but not dangerous. Later, when you start missions, you'll face constant danger. Whatever. I'm already living on borrowed time. Life wasn't much better before I met you. Let's go, Jiang Wei said. Yi Xian entered the address into the navigation. 2 hours later, they arrived at a desolate area. Are you sure this is it? Jiang Wei asked, looking at the empty landscape. This is the middle of nowhere. Yi Xian pointed. Drive that way. After 15 minutes on a dirt road, they rounded a bend and saw a cluster of buildings. As they drove in, people emerged from the houses, some rushing towards them. 2 people? Which one is Zero? That's Zero. He looks ordinary. I saw the current Zero once. He's not as handsome. Yi Xian overheard the female soldiers. Yang handsome? He's like a lump of coal. Yi Xian felt insulted. After the greetings, Qin Guosheng dispersed the crowd. Come with me. Dr. Zhe and Ming Xiaonan are coming too. Why? Yi Xian asked, surprised. Not sure. Ask them. Dr. Zhe and the elders have been arguing lately. Qin Guosheng sighed. Yi Xian nodded. Okay. First, take me to Lin Qingxue and her parents. He's a recruit. Show him around. He'll come back next week with Wu Yao. All right, Qin Guosheng agreed. Yi Xian was led to a house. Lin Qian was washing vegetables outside. She looked up, her face brightening. Auntie, Sister Qingxue, Yi Xian is here. Bai Lianxiang and Lin Qingxue rushed out, their expressions awkward. They'd heard a lot about Yi Xian and the night watch during their stay. The more they learned, the more they regretted their past actions. Let's go inside, Yi Xian said, frowning.